It's Clobberin Treks. Even though I'm not playing the whole intro, I'm still going to say, as always, thank you to the great Stone Loki for it. I do love it. We just got started a little bit late, so I wanted to forego that. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I know no one else does, but I still love that damn thing. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to Clobberin Times issue number, well, in total, 667. Saturday night trekking. That's what we're doing here. We're here to do some Star Trek loving. Saturday night, we're going to review four episodes. Shut up. 4 episodes on a Saturday night. The good news is I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful, fantastic first officer, the great Raquel Briggs. Hello there, my friend, and thank you for being here with me.
Good evening, Captain. Thank you for that warm welcome. Hail to everyone in the chat.
Hail chat. Let's see whom we have with us tonight. Not whom, you're all who's. I'm going to get the trouble with the grammar cops if I don't watch it. And the grammar cops are here, by the way.
They are.
R.N. Feliciano, my good buddy. Thank you, sir, for popping in. Smart Steve 68 was here early. Smart of you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to thank the great Steve Mitchum, my old buddy, for popping in, Steve. Thanks, bud. Thanks for popping in. Always appreciate you, man. Mark with a C is here tonight. The wonderful and the lovely and the amazing Katie Carr is with us tonight. Yay, Katie. Thank you. Thank you. My old buddy Doug Oberg is here tonight. D. Oberg.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother. And I'm sure we have some others out there and more will trickle in as we get going. I'm going to put the word out a little bit more.
Pete just walked in the room.
Scuba Pete. Absolutely.
One of the coolest opening comments is Mr. Feliciano has uncovered that he has a copy of the block 365 text that we're using. And I have to say, what great news that is, Mr. Feliciano, because that is one of the few books that is more expensive in the United States than it is in Canada. So in Canada, that book is about $45. In the United States, it's retails for anywhere between $70 and $95 American. And then, of course, you have to pay for shipping on top of that. And it could take, 3-4 months for it to arrive. So it's quite a collector's item. Another thing you need to know about this book, the reason why I chose this book, is because everything in it is not disputed. So there are some books that you're able to get that take you episode by episode through Star Trek material.
Mm-hmm.
However, unfortunately, when you start to scratch the surface a little bit, you find out that many of the things that are written in these books are contested. So this book is not contested. So we're worried about veracity around here. We're worried about making sure things are true. And when you get the insider scoop, it behooves you to make sure that it's real material. So that is the great thing about this book. The downside of this book, as I've said before many times, but I'm going to say it again, if you read this book on a tabletop, be mindful of the spine, because like Clobberin, like Mike is always saying, it's a brick. Like, it's an odd shaped book. It's super thick. The spine is extremely wide. I don't know what it is, 3 or 4 inches wide, maybe 4.5 inches wide. So it's a delicate book. It's not poorly made or anything, but just it's a delicate book.
Yes. I've seen it. I still want to get it. Still plan to get it. I've seen it many times at the bookstore, as many have. So I did not know it was that damn cool till you started reading from it. So I'm so glad you have it.
Yeah, it's a fabulous book, and like I said, one of the reasons why I chose it is nobody from the production, no writers, no one has ever come forward and said there's stuff in there that's not true. And many of the books that are episode by episode do have that as a problem. There, if you look over the comments, you'll see people are like, I wouldn't. That's not good.
Yeah,
that information is inaccurate. So we don't want that here on Clobberin Treks.
Absolutely not. I've heard about some other really good, but of course, I remember back when all we had was it David Gerald's, his World of Star Trek, and you had the Star Trek Compendium, the Star Trek Concordance, which I have the original of that, but you still didn't have that much.
Yep.
Nothing is in depth. I've heard of. I really want to get These Are the Voyages, but I have not. I don't know if you've gotten those, but I've heard those are good. I don't know.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I'm a book collector.
Hmm.
So I collect a lot of books. So I would actually have to go through it
Sure.
and check and see if I have it because I have so many books. I have quite an extensive collection of books.
Yeah, I got you. Well, this guy who did this, it was a few years back, and he got a lot of Gene Roddenberry's notes that were never. I mean, I think the guy had gotten them like a long time ago, but was never able to come out and produce a lot of them. So they're production
Oh,
notes by the episode. If you look up These Are the Voyages, it sounds really great. Everyone, I think Doomcock has them. Great,
yeah.
Hail Doomcock, and I think he's mentioned them before. And everyone I've seen said that has read them. They did. Originally he did them per season, and then
Yeah.
I think this one is it compiles them all.
Oh,
So I
I
hear
think
it's
that's
really good.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
that's how I like to vet mine. Usually, I start at that place. So whenever I start to see that a book knows what it's talking about, when we're talking about Star Trek, it has photographs of the letters or scanned images of the letters, and 365 has that, and several of my other books, especially Where No Man Has Gone Before, lots of scanned letters and things like that in there. So yeah, if it's got a plethora of scanned letters, you can usually trust that volume.
Excellent. Excellent. By the way, Katie, that's right. Our friend Katie here is, of course, the the biggest Star Trek Voyager fan in existence, and has put to my attention there that it's the anniversary. What number anniversary of Voyager is it? Is it the
26, I think.
26th? Okay,
Yeah, I think it's the 26th anniversary, Katie.
there
If
you go. Yes.
I'm not the biggest Voyager fan, but I'm pretty sure it's 26.
Well, and happy anniversary to Voyager and its fans then, because it's not that off topic. It's Trek, and it's in there, Katie. So thank
That's
you
what
for
we're here
mentioning
for.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
I
it's a
wish that we
landmark.
could play that clip from the Flintstones, a happy anniversary, where Fred is like playing with the guys from the rock pit,
Oh,
and they're at the
yeah,
piano with Barney. That would be great, but of course we'd get a
yeah,
copyright strike. So
of course. But we do, yeah. But yeah, I love the Flintstones. Well, excellent. There you go. And I'm really, really excited about tonight's episode, gang, because we're going to be doing four a Saturday, as you all know, four
yeah,
episodes, so we can burn through these things much quicker. But we got three of my favorite episodes. Three of my just great. We're doing four. Nothing wrong with the other one. I'm just saying, but there are three of these that are just for me episodes I love, and I cannot even tell you how many times I've watched them. So I suppose we should just get. What do you think? Want to get a move on?
yeah, folks. Tonight we're going to be revealing some stuff about these episodes within this text and some other research that I've done. We might run long tonight, but I can tell you this:
No problem.
tonight's show is going to be jam packed with new information and trivia for hardcore Trekkies. So
Nice.
let's get started.
We're doing
We're gonna
Naked Time, right?
we
First.
sure are, which is season 1, episode 4 for the folks at home. But we're doing everything in production order. So tonight's prod code, number 7. This is lucky number 7, the naked time.
Absolutely no. Wow. This one. There are a lot of firsts in this, and I'm gonna let you get going on. I'm not gonna take because I'm just gonna say this one has a lot of firsts in it. We learn so much about the characters in this episode. It just, again, it talks about sort of one of the things we were kind of talking about a little bit last week, how these early episodes are so important, really for any series, for establishing character, and this one does it beautifully. So I love the naked time. So tell us a little bit about this wonderful episode.
Well, but before we get into that, I've said hello to everyone this evening, but guess who just walked in the door?
Oh no, who's
The
here? Who's here?
wonderful and amazing Sandra Feliciano. So welcome.
Oh,
So nice to have you here this evening. So we have both Felicianos here. So nice to see you, Sandra. Okay, let's get going, guys.
Sandra. Welcome, Sandra. Thank you. Go for it.
Okay, so the Enterprise travels to Psi 2000. If you're wondering about the pronunciation there, that is the correct pronunciation because that's how we say it in Greek.
So
So
Kirk got it wrong, is what you're saying.
yeah, well, no, it's that's the way Anglo. If you're going to anglicize Greek, they say psi, or they say psi,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's actually a letter of our alphabet, so it's psi. So the Enterprise travels to Psi 2000 to pick up a group of Federation researchers before the planet disintegrates. But when Spock and crewman Joe Tormolen beam down, they find that the scientists are dead, the apparent victims of their own extreme peculiar behavior. Not long after, members of the Enterprise crew begin acting strangely, the result of a highly contagious virus that the landing party brought back on the ship. Tourmaline, a latent depressive, commits suicide, while Lieutenant Sulu, under the delusion that he is a French musketeer, attacks imagined enemies with a fencing sword. Navigator Kevin Riley, who fancies himself the descendant of Irish kings, seizes control of the ship by commandeering engineering. From there, he informs the crew and their new responsibilities under his rules, and then he shuts down the ship's engines. Since the Enterprise is trapped in a decaying orbit around Psi 2000, it's only a matter of time before the ship will be destroyed along with the planet, unless Spock can help Scotty change the laws of physics by developing a method to restart the cold engines in record time. Unfortunately, Spock, too, has been hit by the virus, and he's more concerned about his mother's hurt feelings than he is about the ship's imminent destruction. Ask an eager young actor whether he's good at something, from riding a horse to speaking French, and the actor will typically swear up and down on a stack of Bibles that he's an expert. And then, of course, he'll immediately have to go out and actually become one. So it was for George Takei, or Takei, when screenwriter John Black asked the man who was normally shackled to the ship's helm control if he could fence. Takei swore that he could, and then he rushed over to Falcon Studios on Hollywood Boulevard to sign up for lessons. Takei's excitement over the scenes in The Naked Time that Black had written for Sulu were nearly overshadowed by his discovery that fencing instructor Ralph Faulkner, who choreographed the famous fencing scene from Errol Flynn and Basil Rathbone in one of Takei's favorite childhood movies, the 1938 The Adventures of Robin Hood. In fact, Takei learned that Faulkner had doubled for Rathbone during the sequence. Following a few frenetic weeks of lessons, The Naked Time went before cameras. On the first day of shooting, Takei was in his trailer eating a bowl of cereal when director Mark Daniels stepped in and asked the actor to take off his shirt. After a glance at Takei's bare torso, the director informed him that they'd film his fencing scenes shirtless. The actor didn't return to his cereal. Instead, he immediately dropped to the floor and spent any free time over the next 3 days doing push-ups to pump up his pectoral debut. Bruce Hyde was 24 years old when he first appeared in The Naked Time as Kevin Riley. Today, Hyde is a professor of acting at the Minnesota University, with fond memories of those days in 1966. I had a contract with Desilu Studios, Hyde said. I had done a pilot for them, and they were paying me enough to keep me available in case the pilot got picked up. Part of the deal was that they could use me up to 2 or 3 times on whatever series Desilu already had airing. They had 3 shows at the time. The Lucy Show was ongoing, and Star Trek, and Mission Impossible, which had just started. That's how I wound up on Star Trek. My family has never traced our genealogy back, and I don't even know if I'm actually Irish. So that had nothing to do with my getting the part as Kevin Riley. But I was lucky. The Naked Time was a really good episode, one that everyone remembers. I got to sing and joke around, which was unusual for the series. In 1966, I was a theater actor and I hadn't done much television, so I was somewhat ill at ease at the studio, recalls Hyde. When you're on stage and what you're doing is funny, people laugh. But on a TV soundstage, they're not supposed to. I remember doing that all of that stuff as Riley in engineering, staggering back and forth and singing Kathleen. What I was doing was supposed to be funny, but everybody was so quiet. That was difficult for me. So the director, Mark Daniels, started choking me in a very playful way, trying to get me to loosen up and make me more comfortable on the set. he was a kind of father figure for me at the time because he directed a play, and I had a lot of success with the girl in the Freudian Slip, first touring, and then for a short time on Broadway. Mark was a really wonderful guy. I've had this photo for years. It's a really nice memento. So I don't know if that's available on Google, but in 365, written by Block and Arrowman, in on tile 5556, we have the most candid shot of Daniels choking Riley in engineering. So just really, really great. And so that's the end of the notes from Block and Arrowman's 365. I have some notes, but I'm going to throw it over to you. What did you think of this episode? And also you in the chat.
Well, this is, by the way, let's see, hang on a second. Damn it, I hate this. Okay, I was having a bit of a coughing problem there. Good thing we have cough buttons on this thing. Well, you know what? This one is a top tenner for me. I love The Naked Time. I've watched it so many times. I just love every bit of it. And one of some of the things that we were talking about earlier was how this is such a great character establishment episode.
Yeah.
That when Next Gen first appeared, its very second episode after its pilot was a complete remake of it, which was a little sloppy, but it was a lazy thing to do probably. But it is just, I mean, again, it's such a great character showcase. You get to see so much, and this is probably maybe or even more so than, or at least on a par with Mira Mira, the most Sulu you'll ever get on the series. His biggest role. But I love everything about this episode. I love Riley. It just kind of makes me sad that we only got to see him in 2 episodes. I think, just imagine if he'd been a regular much more. I think it would have just been terrific. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't. It's so much I want to say that I can't say much of anything. It's just I don't know where to start with this one. It starts out with a wonderful premise of let's basically get the crew drunk so we can see other sides of them, which was fascinating to me. I mean, is this an episode you like a lot? Is it one of your tops, or just somewhere up there?
I absolutely love it. I also think it's really timely. I think everybody should be watching this in these troubled times during this pandemic. Just some of my notes. This is one of my favorite episodes. I think this is essential Trek watching. So here we've got, these are some of my notes, and they're kind of crazy, but this is what I write down, guys. So Joey sniffs his fingers. This is pretty gross. Joey, stop sniffing your fingers. This is why we can't have nice things. He bypasses his PPE. Also, for you cosplayers out there, I want you to know these suits were made from shower curtains.
I love the shower curtains.
Yeah, if you're trying to cosplay, this is made from shower curtains. Something else that I think is really important that most people overlook that you won't find at any other source, because nobody else mentions this, but people paying close attention, decon happens in the transporter chamber as a secondary procedure. So that is, I'm not sure if that's in the hardcore Star Trek trivia game, but that is definitely a detail most people overlook. And I'm seeing Eric K talking to me. Good evening, Eric K. Thank you so much for asking. Yes,
Hail, Eric K.
Evening, and you are like such a great wrench, and you are such a wonderful person, and I love your company. So I'm so happy you're here tonight. Sorry I missed you coming in. Okay, so yeah, I definitely call Joe Itchy Joey. I do it behind his back. I would probably do it to his face. The events of this episode are repeated in TNG, The Naked Now. This episode is mentioned again in TNG Relics. Footage from this episode appears in the 2014 film X-Men, Days of Future Past. This episode is acclaimed and much beloved in nerddom and geekdom. So this is a critical success as well as a fandom success amongst geeks and nerds. I don't agree that this is like Robin Hood. I see this as more pirate ideas from Gene and John Black. I said the rattlesnake sound is the real star of this episode.
Yes, the blood transferring thingy.
Yeah, the first episode in broadcast order to feature the Vulcan nerve pinch. We never get to see the bowling alley mentioned in this episode, even though everybody knows about the bowling alley. But it is, I want everyone at home to know that it is in the USS Enterprise blueprints that were issued in the 1970s. So when Riley says there's a bowling alley on board, I want everyone to know that that is true.
Yeah.
This is the only TOS episode with Uhura, Chapel, and Rand appearing together. This doesn't happen again until TMP. And here we have the Chapel crush alert, more proof that Chapel is in love with her favorite Vulcan. And what else did I say here? Nimoy is an amazing actor. The way he twists his foot in the throes of trying to control his breakdown in the staff briefing room. And I also love the Shat Slapathon. That's a great moment in television history. Shatner gives his love for the ship speech. Oh, yes. I also love the way McCoy rips Shatner's uniform to inoculate him. It's hysterical.
Yes.
And we have more of Kirk and Rand giving goo eyes to each other. And the time warp. This is our first time warp.
Right.
And so those are my notes on this one. That was pretty rapid fire, but I don't want to bore you all and just turn this into like a big essay. But that's all the fun stuff I think about this episode.
Did you know? I don't know if it's ever mentioned in that book that initially the next episode was supposed to tie and be a two-parter with this and Tomorrow Is Yesterday.
Oh, I've never heard that.
And it was scripted that way that that when they go back in time at the end, the second episode would be Tomorrow Is Yesterday, and they moved that story further down the line. But originally it was supposed to be that. Now again, can I confirm it in a court of law right now? No, but we did have a script. I used to collect scripts.
Yeah.
Usually I used to collect unshot scripts. We had a lot of Star Trek unshot scripts. But sometimes I would get episode scripts. And what made this one was different is, and God, I wish I know if one of mine still has the script where at the end it's scripted to where it continues into Tomorrow Is Yesterday. Now I can't tell you why they changed it and moved that one to later. So, but that's just a little tidbit there that I remember buying that script back in the 80s.
Interesting. Very interesting. Perhaps this was about the shuffle, because of course we know that this is season 1, episode 2. Okay, but this is season 1, episode 4. Sorry, and this is Prod Order 7.
Yes.
So maybe it was because of the shuffle. But very interesting comment. I have never heard that comment before. I've never read that in any books.
Well, maybe they might have. I'm not saying that obviously they didn't produce Tomorrow's Yesterday after it, but maybe they were intending to, and then something happened. They just had to split them up and not do a two-parter. My theory on it is simply that you didn't do two-parters back then that much, in TV shows.
Very cool, very cool. So I hope we've equipped the chat. Oh, I like Mr. Feliciano. He's breaking with the tide. 26 minutes past the hour. I thought it was okay. Well,
that's not sufficient, sir. I want 50 push-ups from you on your knuckle. I'm sorry, I've been watching too much Cobra Kai. You can't watch too much Cobra Kai. I love it.
Very funny.
But no, I hear you, man. I truly just adore everything about this episode, especially when Spock sees love mankind or even better when he closes the turbo lift and says, "Sinner repent."
Yeah, Sinner Repent is on the turbo lift. Yeah, it's really funny.
Remember that part?
And Solo was here.
That might not have really happened.
Yeah. What's really interesting is that I think that the younger generation would know this episode from the Love Mankind quote, being in memes. I mean, they meme the crap out of that.
Yes. Yes.
It's everywhere. Have you noticed that? It's absolutely everywhere.
I'm not, I don't know if I've seen any memes on that.
Yeah.
I think really
Oh, we've
okay.
got D. Oberg. He says 27 minutes after the hour. Wiki mentions that it was supposed to be a two-part episode. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Wikipedia because I'm a scholar. So I'm not really big on the user-generated content because, of course, user-generated content, anyone can add or take away
True.
from those files. And I'm also, I used to really love Memory Alpha, but I would say in about 2018, I noticed that Memory Alpha was being taken over by new Star Trek people. So they were overwriting things and saying things that were incorrect. And so now I don't even trust Memory Alpha.
I got
And
you.
I used to actually consider Memory Alpha, even though that is user generated. It used to be experts, so I didn't mind following Memory Alpha, but I don't even trust Memory Alpha anymore. It's a big no.
Well, unfortunately, all my script collection went through I think one of the floods or hurricanes long ago. But I have a buddy of
Oh
mine that
no.
a buddy of mine still has his,
Yeah.
and I will get him to pull that out for me. Maybe we could take a copy of the last couple of pages
Yeah.
for you or something like that. So I'd be glad to show it to you. So I
Oh,
can
that, that I
get his
would.
copy.
I love that kind of stuff. Parrothead just walked in. Hi, sweetheart.
Hey, Parrothead. Welcome. Again, because we back then, again, it was even Lincoln Enterprises, which of course was owned by Gene Roddenberry and run by Miss Majel Barrett
Hmm.
Roddenberry. Sold unshot scripts. We bought a couple of unshot scripts. I used to collect those from other
Ooh.
shows, and it also had a buddy of mine, and he made copies way back then. He still has them though. All the Star Trek Phase 2 scripts as well.
Yeah.
So read all those, loved all those. Again, it was just one of the, including an unshot script called by Norman Spinrad, and of course, yes, a lot of them were rehashed into Next Generation episodes.
Yeah.
The unshot ones.
Eastland, it is so nice of you to come in. I haven't seen you in so long. It's so good of you to pop in and to leave a message for us. Wonderful to have you here. Welcome.
Indeed, Eastland Burkholder, always a pleasure to see you here. Thank you so much for popping in. But yes, I love. It's tough to pick a favorite thing about this episode. The humor of Riley, him saying, "I will take you home again, Kathleen." I mean, we still do this to aggravate each other. We used to do this to aggravate each other all the time, singing, "I'll take you home, Kathleen," into each other's ears really loud. Yeah, that's what Trek geeks do to each other. Stuff like the conflict, between Kirk and Spock when Spock has kind of pretty much gotten over it after his little crying fit.
Yeah.
Over. It's funny, McCoy is the only one that never got affected. Well, actually, not the only one, but
But could you imagine somebody walking up to McCoy's face and touching him while they're perspiring?
Yes,
No, they would probably get a mint julep in the face. I mean, the only reason why Spock got it was because, of course, she has an insanely hard crush on this guy. And she walks over and she touches his face. And in no other circumstances would that happen. So it's shocking that even Spock was affected. But yeah.
So how did Kirk get it when Spock smacked him? I guess I don't know because he didn't have it until then.
Yeah. Well, it says plenty of perspiration. Yeah, I mean, he does grab a hold of Sulu, but so does Spock. When Sulu is a hot, sweaty mess and he's all greased up. And he's got his bounce chicka wow wow pirate thing going on. Yeah. So maybe it happened then because remember, this is perspiration. Right. So it's not just touch, it's perspiration. Yeah. So you got to be a sweaty hot mess. You got to be Swerk.
Oh, yes. Well, Sulu grabbed her. She didn't get it. So I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Just going. Yeah. But yes, I get. Maybe probably just got it when he got smacked across the table by Spock.
Yeah.
But I love that scene.
Yeah.
When he starts smacking Spock. Yeah. Never been done. They have to, of course, as you all know, they have to start the engines because Kevin Riley turned them off.
Yes.
And can't do that. And so Spaghetti has to balance the engines to a controlled implosion.
Yes.
And again, it's only a theory. We may go up in the biggest ball of this universe, but at least got to try, all that kind of stuff. And I just love that scene between Kirk and Spock. Yep. That's one of the really great early scenes
Yep.
between the two of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. So the chat's blowing up with my bout chicka wow wow comment on Sulu. Yeah, apparently I haven't read Sulu's book, but apparently like this was his favorite episode. This is and this is 100% verified. So yeah, apparently this was like his favorite scene of all time. He loves this episode. He thought it was great fun,
Yeah.
and yeah, and he looks great. So you know what I mean. I bet you a lot of hearts were aflutter that evening. So yeah, lots of bow chicka wow wow. Also like that Eastland the Sulu swaggering bravateer. Yeah, exactly.
I've often wondered this myself, but of course she had not seen Corby in many years, so she had her little crush on Spock. But obviously, in an episode that we will talk about soon, we'll touch back. We'll
We're
swing
not
back to that
there yet. You're jumping ahead.
right? But yeah, we'll talk about little Roger Corby
Yeah.
soon. So again, it's just a wonderful episode all the way through. Great characterization. This is one of the best character episodes ever, because it is a fairly straightforward, simple plot.
Yes.
Got to get the ship out of danger because we screwed up and all that. It's a trope that's been used on a lot of TV shows, not just Star Trek, over and over again. You know,
Yeah.
the everyone's not themselves episode, which happens.
Yeah, or the pandemic, right? And that's why I love it, is because it's just in our context. This show is just lovely. Like I wanna go with my daughter and Katie and a couple of other Trekkies, and I just want to go to the next con dressed in the PPE. We just have to find the shower curtains and get her done, because this is definitely the way to go to the next con, right, Katie?
Yes. That would be. Let me put the shower curtain thing back up there again. Yes,
bring on the PPE.
Yeah,
and I definitely won't be tickling my nose like Joey smells his fingers. Oh, Joey, what are you doing?
Yeah, poor old Joey again. An actor who would return in the second season as an R on by any other name, but yes, Joe Tormolin. One of the things that was interesting to me about him is, again, he's short-lived because he's just a character that's there to basically, as we all know, to die. Mm-hmm. But he's pretty well written in that short span, and so much so that even McCoy and Spock, they don't, we don't know this character, but they have a lot of respect for him, as does Sulu and Riley. So he's again, for him to have kind of just give up thing and all that kind of stuff that he was it McCoy says, not Joe's kind of man. His kind of doesn't give up. So apparently this is a guy that carries a lot of respect with these and people.
Isn't it magnificent how they build the richness of the character through that dialogue? So we learn about this character through his interactions with the crew, and especially even in the comments in 365, calling him a latent depressive, and how his friends jump to his service and help in the lunchroom, whereas some of the other crew who didn't know him were sort of staring at this spectacle of a man trying to stab himself with a butter knife, which would not be a pleasant way to go. I mean, butter knife's pretty dull.
Yes, man, you're pretty good if you can whack yourself with a butter knife. That's by the way, the great Chris Persia, another
Chris, welcome.
Master of the wrenches. Hey, Chris Persia.
We have some comments coming in. Eastland has made an excellent comment at 35 minutes past the hour. It says, staged in a hallway, the break into the control room scene. Well done on a budget. Yeah. And Parrot Head, Raquel is proof smart girls are twisted. Indeed, sir. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
You know what Joe's problem was? He wasn't born an Irishman.
Oh, now you have to put your hands up in the air as though you're going to scratch someone in the face and then walk out of the room. Because that's the way that Riley does it.
I figure we should, when we talk about these episodes, when we get towards like the end of talking about them, we should come up with some of the fun quotes, like that.
Yes.
Because Star Trek is so quotable.
Oh, wouldn't that be great for the chat too? We could do it all together where everyone could we could do our top 10 best or most favorite Star Trek quotes. What a great idea.
Oh yeah. When we're on an episode, if you got a quote that you like from it,
Yeah, write it down.
Throw it in there. Whenever I would get my gloves and gown on to take care of a patient, my nose would start to itch. Yeah, that makes sense. No one dealing with the, yeah. Remember an episode of MASH where Hawkeye's operating? No, not Hawkeye. It was the MASH film actually, where Trapper, tells the nurse scalpel, and she just goes, "Okay, here you go, doctor. Just scratch my nose."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
was it
well,
Hawkeye?
that's
Maybe
that.
Hawkeye.
But Sandra's right. I mean, he's beneath PPE, but I think they cover their heinies there by saying he's a junior officer, right? So I don't think he's done very many away missions in PPE.
Yes,
But yeah.
he's able. Oh, by the way, Just Joe 47. What's up, Jabber?
But I have to
see you,
say,
my friend.
Sandra, that is one of the most frustrating scenes ever, because
Yes.
you know it's coming, right? And then he reaches underneath.
Right.
And what's worse is that after he's touched by the purple liquid, when he puts his hand inside of his PPE a second time, he sniffs his fingers and then his palm. And so this is the kid who may have eaten glue in grade 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the kid
Yeah.
where you're just like, dude, what are you doing? But yeah, Sandra, like, super frustrating scene, isn't it?
Well, yeah, when Spock walks back in, he says, "We certainly expose ourselves to nothing." Well, you know what, Spock? Yeah, that's good, all good, but I don't know why you even had to say. They should never. Of course, we wouldn't have an episode if Joe doesn't do that. But
yes,
Joe should have known better. Come on, Joe.
Yeah,
Joe almost did, man.
Itchy Joe, scratch and sniffy Itchy Joe, Joey.
Another Wesley crush. But let's see some quotes in there that I love. Was when Kirk no beach to walk on, when he's all sad and depressed about that he can't put a move on Rand.
Mm-hmm.
No beach to walk on. That was some telling that he kind of the captain can't. I don't know. He can't really. It's not appropriate for him to mingle, be social with the ladies on the ship or whatever. Which, you know what, boo-hoo, Kirk. We all know through the show you had a lot of fun, dude. So come on. Yeah. I mean, yes, okay, you leave the yeomans alone, but dude, all those other chicks you had, well, we counted them up one time, so you did all right, man.
Yeah,
you did okay.
I like this. Parrothead says at 40 minutes past the hour, Sandra, it's hard to scratch your nose when you're wearing a fishbowl on your head. And then, of course, Sandra replies so wonderfully, details, Parrothead.
Yep. So, yeah, this one, again, I can't remember. I cannot remember exactly where I rated it when I did my big top 25, but it was in the top 10, way up in there. It's just such a great one. And if you have not, of course, what are you doing with your life if you haven't seen this or any other Real Trek episodes? But if you haven't watched this one, I don't know what you're doing. But so watch all of Trek, of course. Yeah,
I think it's a must see. I definitely think it's a must see. But once again, you get all these people on IMDb and you get all these people on Wikipedia, this user generated crap, and they're mentioning all of these details because they watch in broadcast order instead of prod order. So I definitely encourage you to watch in prod order, and it's far more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And that's only with the first season. You don't have to. I don't think there's any kind of things for the second or season that do that. Do they? I mean, have you ever seen anything where
no.
Lists those up? Yeah, it's only the first season. After that, you're clear. Free and clear to navigate.
But it allows you to have an immersive experience, and when you're watching it in the broadcast order, that's when people are like, "Oh, that's a mistake." No, actually, that's not a mistake. When somebody writes a book, you don't turn around and start moving the chapters around, and that's kind of what happened to Gene there, and we spoke about that in a previous show. About how they were trying to sort of engineer the audience to stick to this IP, and the studio had a far different idea of what people wanted to watch, right? Because of course, Salt Vampire is not what we want to watch.
No, and that whole season, I mean, those episodes are all jumbled up until you get toward the end.
Yeah.
But again, anyone when you are if you want to do the production order as we think you should, you can
Yes.
find many sources online that'll tell you the order to go in.
Yes.
So yeah, you're good. And of
Or
course,
you could just
we're
buy
giving to
it.
you an order.
Or you
What's
could
that?
just buy it. You know what I mean? Like you could just buy Star Trek, the original series, on DVD. I believe in hard physical media. Physical media
Oh
is
yeah,
incredibly important in our society today. We've spoken about this in previous shows that you and I, are avid fans of this, because we're seeing some stuff disappear. I mean,
no,
look
yeah,
at
definitely by the
Splash.
physical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Splash is one of the most
Oh yeah.
harmless, innocent movies, and now it's been ruined. You have this strange hair extension going over this lovely woman's posterior in the most
Oh God.
innocent scene,
So dumb.
as though it's something sexual and
Uh,
pornographic and obscene, and it's not. It's just a lovely mermaid going back to the water. So, uh,
it's ridiculous.
there is the sacred and the profane, and it seems to be shifting quite a lot in our society. So yeah, grab your physical media
No,
and buy
absolutely.
this, buy this if you really, really, really want to enjoy it. And as Mark
Yep.
with a C and I have said in the past, get the original gangster one. Don't get the ones that are remastered, because when there's dirt on the lens and there's like a mark on the screen and stuff, it's so good. Just watch it the way it was.
I have the version that gives you the option to do both. No, no, I wasn't saying that. I was saying buy physical, absolutely. But I'm saying on the physical ones also they're out of order. On
Oh, are
the
they?
Blu-ray set they're out of order.
What's wrong with me? Do I just automatically know this stuff? I'm a very
Um,
strange person, aren't I?
no, I mean I don't know. You have a Blu-ray set, don't you?
I think I do. Yeah, yeah.
I have. Well, I like. Remember we were talking about how I have that 50th anniversary one, but I also before that I have all the DVDs,
I have the
the old
DVDs,
DVD
but
sets.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure if I have the Bluray. That's the only thing.
even when they put it on DVD, the old that last time when this, and I still have this lovely clamshell ones they did with
Yeah.
each season a different color. Those were also in broadcast order.
So I am a
Every,
weirdo. I just watch it in broad order. You
yeah,
guys
yeah,
at home, I'm a freak.
me too. No, but that's what I'm saying though. But you got to go find online or someone to tell
Yes.
you which order it's in because
Yep.
the and Netflix same deal. It's
Yeah.
production. I mean, excuse me. Air date order. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Broadcast order and prod order,
Right.
and yeah,
And when it was in
that's easy.
syndication, it was the same deal too.
Well, thanks for pointing that out, because I totally did not know that. I'm just a weirdo, everyone.
No, well, you say you watch it every year, so you probably get it. You know the production order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really I absolutely love watching it every year.
Yeah.
It's just it's a part of my life. I just there's
Oh yeah.
This IP is just everything for me, and this is the best part of it. The TOS is the best part of it for me.
Is Raquel a computer? Yes. Open the pod bay doors, Raquel.
Yeah,
And then
total weirdo. Sorry.
she starts singing Daisy at me. Don't stop, Dave. Don't, Dave.
Oh,
I'm losing my mind.
so bad, so bad.
Oh, wrong franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she is a computer and a wonderful computer. And she's just smarter than a damn computer. That's
Oh,
all.
I
But I can
love you
see where you
guys.
make the mistake.
I make lots of mistakes.
Oh, yeah, right. Sure. Okay, well, you know what do we have in our closing remarks? If these are closing remarks, unless you have more, of course, on
No.
Star Trek: The Naked Time. Wonderful
Yep.
episode.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that?
Yeah, if anybody in the chat has anything now, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Let's see here. A true Trekkie, and yes, she is.
I love you,
Absolutely.
Smart Steve. Thanks for saying that, my friend.
Mark with a C. Clobberin Times is right. Hey, don't spread that. I never write about it. Now you're having me question it. Now I'm gonna have to go back and check it. I'm never right. Come on, dude. Come on. Oh, maybe I'm alt right or something. I don't know what it is. All right. So Eastland. Let's see. Let's just make sure here. I was thinking of when he was playing music with the. Yeah, no, I remember what you were talking about there, Eastland. When we were talking about how Picard did get involved with the crew member. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was after the Inner Light, I believe, when he had that little
Yeah.
relationship thingy. I do remember that. And then she found out, what? In 20 years, you're going to be a total creepweed and ruin your character? Screw you, dude. I'm off of this shit. Transfer me.
Yeah, just
Uh,
awful. Just
uh,
awful. There's pretty much nothing worse than P hard unless you're
no.
talking, disco, vandalized disco.
Yes, STD's bad, but P. Hard destroys a character that was. Well, I liked him enough. There were people who really, really, really loved that character, and I feel for them. That's just
Yeah, see,
hell with it.
Mr. Feliciano said what I said, and Eastland said it. Everyone here is in agreement. Everyone agrees with me. The Sulu's performance here is more pirate than what did the block lady say it was, that it was like Robin Hood or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's very piratey. I totally agree, Mr. Feliciano.
Well, he was quoting Three Musketeers was Richelieu beware, and of course wasn't even Spock said take D'Artagnan here to sickbay. So yeah,
Yeah.
he was quoting some Three Musketeers with Alexander Dumas or whatever.
Yeah. But it's all reading
But you're right.
that same mud pirate feel
True.
though, right? Yeah. So everybody
Absolutely.
got that same feel. I think that's great.
Well, I love seeing some buckle swash. That's for sure. I love old Arrow. I love Captain Blood, by the way. Great pirate film. Errol Flynn.
Yeah, Smart Steve, at 49 minutes past the hour. P hard sounds like a kidney stone problem. It is. It definitely is.
It's actually way worse than one. It's way worse. If you probably rather have the kidney stone problem.
Yes.
It could be the size of Mount Rushmore as opposed to watching P. Hard, the TV show.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, I love Errol Flynn. Robin Hood is the only Robin Hood for me, bro. Yeah, Eric King, I love it.
Yeah. What a great thing to say, Eric K. The great Eric K. Yeah, that's a great comment.
I love the adventures of Robin Hood. So, let's see. We've Naked Time. We've established happened, and it's wonderful. What would be our next?
Charlie X, season 1, episode 2. We're looking at Prod Code 8. And there's some stuff folks need to know here. I spoke about this in a previous show. So DC Fontana and Gene co-wrote this episode, Charlie X. But this episode comes from, and if you folks will remember, this episode comes from Gene's original pitch list in 1964. Do you remember when I read off his little pitch list? And we were talking about how these are like thin wafers of ideas. So he basically he said to DC Fontana, let's do this. So they did Charlie X.
Great. Wonderful episode.
Yeah. It's great. My husband hates this episode, but
really?
Again?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it.
Go for it.
Captain Kirk gives passage to 17-year-old Charlie Evans, sole survivor of a vessel that crash landed on an unexplored planet of Thasus 14 years ago. Kirk finds Charlie ill-informed about even some of the basic rules of etiquette, but friendly and eager to learn. He's even more eager to become acquainted with the fairer sex. Unfortunately, he's become fixated on the captain's yeoman, Janice Rand, who is unsuccessful in her efforts to redirect his interests. Janice learns the hard way that Charlie has serious problems accepting rejection, and soon other members of the crew experience Charlie's wrath for perceived slights. By the time Kirk realizes the danger Charlie represents to the Enterprise, it's too late to do anything about it. The boy possesses extremely powerful mental abilities, which Spock hypothesizes he may have learned from the rumored inhabitants of Thasus. And those abilities, unchecked, could spell disaster for Kirk's crew. So we're on 56, 57 tile of the block text. Hot-headed Charlie encounters a few members of the crew laughing over some private joke in an Enterprise corridor. Because he is a teenager, Charlie has a tendency to assume that everything is about him. But unlike other teenagers, Charlie has the power to stop bullies, even perceived ones, dead in their tracks. We see only the shadows of Charlie's tormentors in this sequence, and do we have that sequence up there? Yes, we do. That is the one with the little bubble of her coming around the corridor with her face covered. Cleverly staged by director Lawrence Dobkin, Charlie commands that the laughing ceases and then stalks away. But after he leaves, one victim, her whimpering cries of terror strangely muffled, feels her way around the corridor, and it's revealed that her face is gone. No eyes, no nose, and perhaps most horrifying, no mouth. So she's not able to scream or, from Charlie's perspective, laugh, but she's also unable to breathe. Today's audience is accustomed to the unlimited magic of CGI. Uh, Today's audience is accustomed to the unlimited magic of CGI, may not find the effect all that realistic, but to the 1960s audience, the image was profoundly unsettling. And I have to agree with that. As
Yes.
a child who grew up in the early 1970s, well, throughout the 70s, this is horrifying.
Very creepy.
Although Charlie represents as much of a threat to the crew as the mutated Gary Mitchell, the sense of sadness and regret that the crew experiences as the Thasians take Charlie off their hands is far more profound. Charlie is not a man with delusions of godhood, nor is he a villain. He's a teenage boy, full of all of the sweetness and naivete, excitement, and uncontrollable rage that every hormonal adolescent experiences. At some point or another, what parent hasn't wished that he or she could send a temperamental child away to live with someone who could teach the child manners? There are horse whisperers and dog whisperers. Where are the teenager whisperers? First, there was Uhura's rather blatant invitation for Spock to chat her up in the man-trap, and now she's singing a love song about the ship's first officer. What could Uhura have in mind? So here we see this budding romance. You'd think that Spock would be annoyed by the communications officer's attempt to refocus every eye in the rec room on him. After all, who needs all the pressure when you're minding your own business, trying to put in some serious practice time with that beautiful Vulcan lute? But strangely enough, Spock almost seems to enjoy being the object of Uhura's musical jibes. Despite the song's reference to his victimizing alien love and his spooky hypnotic gaze, there's actually a hint of a smile on his face as she sings. And isn't that just a touch illogical? Or maybe a touch romantic, and that's what I think about that scene where he smiles. I read it completely different than most fans. I see that as a sexual overture, and I think it's an accepted sexual overture, and I think that's his human side coming out. What are your thoughts on what Ms. Block and Errolman, I think his name is? Let me just. Errolman, yes. What they have to say about this episode.
Well, first, a couple of hellos to a couple of your countrymen. The great Rod Thunderheart and the great Canadian Rod. Thank you for popping in. Of course, the great Canadian Spider-Man, who as always does what a Canadian Spider.
Yes, Canadian Spider-Man. So good to see you. And Rod, thank you guys so much for stopping by. We appreciate your support so much. And yeah, Rod, the face terrified me. When I first saw this episode, it was in black and white on our black and white television. Some of our younger viewers may not know that, but when we were growing up in the 1970s, many parents opted to get the black and white television because you could get a larger television, and so it could be the furniture model, and it would be a big part of the family living room. And so many of us didn't have the color television because, of course, it was just too costly. So yeah, when you see that in black and white, it makes your spine feel liquidy. It's really, really scary. And he suffocated her to death.
Yes. Now again, when we get to the end part, I'm not so sure the Thasians didn't reverse everything. At the end, they said they did.
They do. Good. Except for what happens to the Antares. That can't be reversed.
Now, I know you're not a big fan of the remaster, but in that one thing, you get to see the Antares.
Yes.
And it looks good, but they kind of made it a little bit big. But it's still, compared to, to listen to what the captain talked about, but that's just a minor thing.
Yeah. I have seen what the Antares looks like, and I think it's a cute little ship.
Yes, I think maybe I just thought next to the Enterprise, maybe it was just a perspective thing. It should have been a little bit smaller by the way those captains talked about the size of the Enterprise to Charlie, but
Yeah.
could have just been blowing smoke up his arse, who knows? But
Yeah.
um,
And don't you love the insignias? Isn't it
yeah,
beautiful
I
to see?
love the different
Like,
insignias.
yeah, it's
I love
just
that.
I just absolutely love that. It's just great.
Again, I do love me the Delta Shield. There's no question about it. But there was a nice charm to every ship having its own distinct
Well, yeah, and Gene
insignia.
said that he wanted to do that because it showed that they belonged to that ship. So
Yeah.
they became a family in essence, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Uh, I love this one. Again, this is about as scary as it gets. This is
Yeah.
a creepy, scary episode, and the reason why it's scary is because you have a godlike. It's one thing for Gary Mitchell to get godlike powers as a grown man, and eventually we can see what was happening and wasn't all necessarily his fault. Even Kirk said it at the end of the episode where no man has come before. And at one point when he kind of knocks him to his senses a little bit, he even says, he almost seems like the old Gary. So we're never really sure what's at play right there. But Gary is a grown man, and he was definitely dangerous and scary, but he knew what he was doing. This is a child that's never been around other people ever
Well,
with
that's the
godlike
scary thing,
powers.
right? Yeah, the
Yes,
child god is a very common trope, especially in science fiction, but
right.
and science fantasy. But at the same
Yes,
time, this was pretty fresh for me, given the socio-historical context, and we see the chat blowing up with that. Yeah, all of us in the 1960s and 70s who watched this on our black and white televisions, and we of course we were all pretty young, so. Terrifying. And I think that even given the socio-historical context of what was being shown on TV at that time, I think that there were very many adults who were just as terrorized by the things that transpired in this episode.
yeah. Again, what's that old for the infant terrible or whatever? It was truly the scariest part of it was this kid can wipe you out of existence for a second. And I
Yeah,
love the whole dynamic between him and Kirk because um again, just another example, kind of what we were talking about with the Corbomite maneuver last week.
yeah,
Kirk is so cool. There's this godlike being that could just wipe him out like that, and he still stands up to him.
yeah,
This is my ship. And even he was, I mean, look, he's human. Kirk's human. There were at some point toward the end, he was probably scared for his life. And then when it came to his ship, I don't care how scared I am. I'm not going to put up with it. I'm going to fight you no matter what. And he does. And there's this great scene. He finally, when they started taxing, when they learned that taxing his power would be a way to at least, get a hold of him a little bit. Now,
yeah,
again, how long would that have lasted without the Thasians? I don't know.
yeah,
But Kirk, look how bold he is. Look how
yeah,
this scene right here when he just, what the hell, I'm going to smack him. Maybe I could take him down. He's probably going to
yeah,
kill me
yeah,
right there. And then boom, Thasians show up, which is of course a nice little kind of a little Trek trope there where last second something comes to pull your buns out of the fire there.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, what I just love the high concepts in Star Trek. Always have. We talk about it every time.
And this episode is chock full of cerebral literary quality, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a few seconds here. But yeah, my husband hates this episode, but he hates it for all the right reasons. He thinks the kid is super creepy, and he does not like the feeling the kid gives him. So whenever he has to watch this episode with me, he always says, "Oh, I hate this kid. This kid is so creepy." And my husband is afraid of nothing. My husband literally looks like one of the guys from the show The Vikings. And so the kid's got to be creepy, right? But
he is.
yeah, it's just unbelievable, and a testament to the actor.
Robert Walker was, I think it was Walker, right? He was terrific.
Yep.
Was it not Walker? I think it was.
I don't remember. The thing that stands out for me about this actor that I never remember his name. I always have to have my name or his name jogged by me again. The thing that I remember about this guy is so many people said that he wanted to reserve himself from the rest of the cast, so his performance could be more compelling. And so in between takes, he didn't mix with the crew. I've read that in a few places. That's not a part of my notes, but I do know that about this particular actor. But I never remember his name. Whomever he is, I feel bad that I don't
think it's
remember his
Walker.
name.
I think it's
But
probably Walker.
yeah,
Well, again, what makes him so scary? I mean, at first, because you like him a little bit, you feel bad for him at first when you don't know that what he can do and stuff. And yeah, Robert Walker. Okay,
yeah,
he you like him and you feel bad for the kid, and that's again a good, wonderful establishing part of the episode where he's innocent, or we think so at the time. Although it looks like something's up when we see the kind of skittishness of the captain of the Antares in it.
yeah,
And you're kind of wondering, but he's likable. You feel
yep,
bad for him. He's a kid that grew up with no other humans.
yep,
And then when you start again, it's a pretty good acting transition. He goes from being sympathetic for a while there, then to being scary as all hell. Because again, not just because the he's not an intimidating looking dude at all. He don't
yep,
look like he's from the set of Vikings. He looks like some little kid, but that kid, that temper tantrum throwing little kid, can do not just wipe you out. It can do the most horrible thing to you. So he becomes scary and creepy because you as the audience, and of course the Enterprise crew themselves, know the danger he's in. And
And in black and white television, when he
oh
rolls
God,
his
yes.
eyes to the back of his head,
Oh God, yes.
you know what I mean? Like, my generation grew up with Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Like, when he does that weird thing with his eyes, like the kid is just creepy.
Super creepy. It
He's
really
super
is.
creepy.
That's what he's supposed to
Sandra
be.
has put up a quote here that she really loves. Could we please put that up at 4 minutes past the hour?
Love that quote.
Kirk tells Charlie in short, there are a million things you can have and a million things you can't. There is supposed to be adults these days who don't need, there are supposed adults these days who need to hear that. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. He says, no fun facing that, but that's the way things are. And of course, as we all know, he falls in love with Janice Rand. I can certainly understand that.
Who wouldn't?
You had some fun bits of character moments between Kirk and Spock. I mean, excuse me. Well, Spock also, but some Kirk and McCoy.
Yep.
With was it when he smacks Janice on the rear, and
it's hysterical.
Tell Dr. McCoy or Captain Kirk what you did, and they'll explain it to you. And then a lot of goods. I mean, again, this is just a really well written, really well acted episode. Some good exchanges between Kirk and Charlie. Some good stuff between. Especially that adversarial relationship between the two of them, and the fact that we find out that this kid can do almost anything, and Kirk still tells him what to do, and still has some control over him. He doesn't respect Spock.
No,
he doesn't. He was horrible to Spock. He doesn't respect anybody, but for some reason, even though he knows he can wipe Kirk out, he respects him.
Yeah, for sure.
And he listens to him at first, but eventually he comes and takes over the bridge because he knows that they're on to him. And again, I just love the scene where the Thasians finally show up. And here you go. These people have been put through hell, scared to death like the audience of this godlike being, this devil-like being. And yet when we find out that he's just a tortured child who was alone all of his life, automatically, this is one of the wonderful things about Star Trek, their compassion kicks in. Yeah. And that wonderful, somber ending that makes you want to cry for this poor being that he didn't ask for what happened to him.
It's true. It's very true.
And it's so sad. You go from liking an innocent kid, scared to death of this devil, and at the end you feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't ask for what happened to him. And
so
it's
true.
Beautiful, it's beautiful writing. That's why I love this episode. Again, that ending, it's all great and entertaining and fun and good. And that last bit kills me every time. That's a wonder. That's up there almost close to a City on the Edge of Forever type of an ending. It's somber, it's poignant, it means so much. And it's it's quintessential Star Trek because they compassion that both Rand, Kirk, all of them show for this poor child, and it's a shame. I love it
for sure. So for my notes, I've got Gene makes an uncredited audio cameo in this episode. The cook or the mess hall officer who says over the comms that the turkey-shaped meatloaves, the constitutes that they have,
Yeah.
in the galley ovens have turned into real turkeys.
Yes.
That is always a highlight for me because I'm a uber Gene fan. So whenever I hear his voice, I do this quiet little clap and giggle, and it makes my husband look at me like I'm out to lunch. And this marks his only appearance in TOS. This is people should know too. The folks at home should know too. This is before replicators were conceived. So we're going to revisit this in Tomorrow is Yesterday from 1967. You hear the mention of a ship's stores. Rand talks about that, and then of course we have this mention of a chef or a cook or a mess hall officer, and so that disappears after Tomorrow is Yesterday. Another thing for trivia here, if you're going to play trivia, you need to know that the body count on this one is 20. Yeah, for the literary and cerebral notes here, we have Spock, and of course, he starts saying "The Tiger" by William Blake, 1794. So this poem is known for aesthetic beauty, for showing the difference between aesthetic beauty and ferocity. How our most ferocious things are usually the most aesthetically pleasing, and the contrary nature of things. So when Charlie forces Spock to say "The Tiger" by William Blake, we know that this is Charlie talking about Spock and Charlie. So here we have this, you know what I'm saying? Like he's making him say this poem, but what's buried in that is this reference to William Blake and this literary cerebral note, this exchange between the viewer and the author DC Fontana and Gene Roddenberry. So really wonderful to see William Blake here. And then of course we hear The Raven. Right afterwards, we hear 1845. We hear The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. And of course, I'm not going to turn this into a graduate seminar, but that's a story of a man's descent into madness, right? He's lamenting the loss of his love, Lenore. So the poem is, the story is about like undying devotion. And Poe said that he chose the raven because he wanted a non-reasoning creature capable of speech. So when Charlie makes Spock start quoting the raven, we know that Charlie is actually making reference to Janice Rand's rejection and Spock. So Tiger, Tiger, burning bright. This is about Spock and Charlie and how they have a contrary nature within themselves. Charlie is the teenager unable to control his emotion, and Spock being half Vulcan, half human. And then of course we have Once Upon a Midnight Dreary. Then we know that Charlie's making Spock say this because this is an offhanded remark. This is his way of expressing his displeasure with Janice rejecting him, and of course that Spock is acting as this raven, and it's to wonderful effect. So because I'm a literary nerd and a scholar, and that you're probably not going to hear that on anybody else's show, and it's super nerdy, but that's why Blake and Poe wind up in this episode. So very cerebral, really nice. And I think that's it on there, except for the fact that I did say that Spock smiles slightly, but that's because, like I said, I believe that Uhura's continued sexual overtures are appreciated by him.
Yep. Well, why wouldn't they be?
Yeah.
Yes, Mark, with a C. This episode is reminiscent of one of my all-time favorite episodes of Twilight Zone with Billy Mummy, of course. It's that's called "It's a Good Life."
Mm-hmm.
And but as you asked earlier, Mark C, no, that episode of Twilight Zone did air before this Star Trek episode did, just because he'd asked earlier.
Yeah.
Well, what's that?
Which one, Parrot Head?
Oops. Parrot Head, where are at? Well,
No. You keep going with what you're doing. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll get to that one next. No.
I just wanted Parrot Head to put up which one, which one he's talking about. If he's talking about Blake or Poe.
Okay, just let us know, Parrothead. I just wanted Canadians, a good buddy, Canadian Spider-Man. That's what made me love Kirk as Captain. I love him too. Even super powerful beings respected him.
Yeah.
Like how Q-toyed any times, I guess many times. You mean Picard, but didn't mess with Cisco after the first meeting. Yeah, because he punches him. You're right. Yeah, he figured Picard was a pansy, so he didn't mess with it. So he could mess with him, and which is true. After Cisco popped him, he's like, yeah, let me go mess with old Picardy. He's more fun. He's more of a stick in the mud anyway, so he's more fun to pick on.
Yeah.
So what was the game we needed? He had the question for Parrothead.
Oh, yes. Okay. So he's talking about the William Blake poem. Yeah. So if you want to look that up, make sure that you spell tiger with a Y.
Yes.
And that will take you directly to that to that poem. But yeah, I'm not familiar with The Mentalist. I've never watched it, but very, very cool. And that is where that poem comes from.
Yeah, and also used in Alan Moore's great masterpiece Watchmen. Let's see here. Oh, what's that? It's a running. He was. Yes, that's the running joke. It'll be here installed on Tuesday. Yes, from Star Trek Gibberations.
Yeah. I would appreciate it if whoever gave me sexual overtures, says Eric. Yeah, Eric. Like, isn't she gorgeous? You know what's really funny is my husband said to me tonight while we were watching it together. He looks over at me, goes, "How old is Nichelle here?" I'm like, 34. He's like, she's beautiful, hey? I'm like, yeah, I know. Isn't it ridiculous?
No argument there. She was something. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, good God, yes. Yes, love her. This is a great episode, though. Again, is it a top 10 for me? It might be close for sure. It's in my top 20 for sure.
Oh, wow. So the Blake poem is really popular for geeks. So see, this is great. Steve
That's
Mitchum
right.
At 14 minutes past the hour. So it's really funny because see, this is where geeks and nerds intersect. So yeah, this is a super nerdy, cerebral poem. I definitely want you all to read the whole poem. Yeah, super cool. And it's nice to see that it is being spread all over geekdom because it's a very powerful poem. So, but once again, when you look it up, make sure that you use the Y. And there,
yes, it is a Y. That's right.
Yeah, and you can get the synopsis with the poem. So if you're not familiar with how to read poetry, the synopses are out there for it.
Absolutely. Well, my good buddy, our great pal, Canadian Spider-Man, got to run before I pass out from exhaustion. No, don't do that. Definitely get some rest there, my friend. See you all next time. Chat lovely as always, Raquel. Yes,
I love you, Canadian Spider-Man. Be careful and out at work, and we'll see you next Saturday. And I'm so happy that you came by to visit with us today. And thank you so much for your wonderful additions to the chat. You are just absolutely wonderful company. So safe journey until next week, my friend.
Indeed, sir. Was it totally random, but the camera colors of TOS was like, yeah, but it was. I love the colors on the show. Absolutely true, Katie.
Lots of color correcting going on in TOS, Katie. Lots of post-production colorization happening that we'll talk about as we go through all of these series.
Yes, indeed. Chris Perziosi. Yep. Again, yes. You are the man. Canadian Spider-Man is just such a cool feller, and always so nice. I'm just always appreciate you seeing here, coming by and seeing us, and get some rest there, brother.
Very, very sweet person, a smart, funny guy, and I'm so happy that he comes by and visits with us. Great company.
Absolutely. So, what else do we have on Charlie X?
For me?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you had any more things to say about it.
No, I think that's it for me. That pretty much covers my notes. I am so happy that everyone was so familiar with the William Blake and that everybody was attuned to talking about the literature and poetry included in this episode, and it's so cool to learn that it's in other IP as well.
Yes. And again, I just one other thing about the ending that I can't think is kind of lost on people. Other than of course the tragedy of the Antares being blown up.
Yeah,
Um, Kirk didn't. Does they? He doesn't really lose anybody because the Thasians returned everyone,
yeah,
which is
except for
kind of a
everyone
nice
on the
thing.
Antares. Yeah,
Right. They didn't. They said it was too late for them.
yeah.
Unfortunately, they couldn't do that. But they did return his crew back to normal. So for once, Kirk didn't have to lose anybody. It's still a damn shame about the Antares. So it's funny. That's again one of the wonderful things about the show. The writing is it's complex, especially for its times. Like, wow, we did okay, but poor old Charlie and the Antares didn't make out that well, and that was just
Yeah, well, it makes sense too, though, right? Because if these are supposed to be godlike creatures, Charlie makes it quite clear that they were going to die anyway. So I think
yeah,
that's the reason why they can't be resurrected. It's not a matter of duration. It's just a matter of they don't go around messing in the affairs of for
yeah.
lack of a better term, people's destinies or known futures. Because of course, if you're talking about a godlike creature, they know the past, the present, and the future. So I think that's why the folks on the Antares aren't resurrected. They're not brought back to life, and that's because there is a piece of faulty equipment on their ship, and they were going to die anyway. Charlie just hurries it along because he's a little
He removed it.
bastard.
Yeah, he kind of caused it, but yeah, they might have caught it and fixed it if not for that little.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I like how Kirk beats Spock in 3D chess and then tells Spock, "I'll leave you in the hands of our chess master." That's right. The actual line was that, "I'll leave you in the hands of our chess master." And then yes.
My
So,
husband's actually really, really, really good at chess.
uh-huh.
And that's actually how he identifies this episode after talking about the kitty hates, the creepy kitty hates. Oh, this is the episode where that guy melts the creepy kid melts the chess pieces.
Yes. Yes, he does indeed mount those
Yeah, my
chess
husband loves that
pieces.
because, of course, he's a huge Magnus Carlsen fan. So,
Katie's right. They need to give 3D chess lessons.
yeah.
That would be fun. I'd like to have one of those. Of course, they're expensive. Those 3D chess sets. Those are
Oh,
great.
yeah. A lot of the
So
paraphernalia from Star Trek is really expensive when you start going all the way back to TOS. I still
yes.
want the brandy glasses
Oh yeah.
that look
Right.
like a report, but they're insanely expensive. Like insane.
Yeah, I think you were mentioning that. Did you tell me about that last week? They're like something
Yeah.
like what is it, $200 pop or something crazy like that?
No, yeah,
Or
well,
more.
per glass, but I think the
Whoa.
cheapest I've ever seen them, maybe the
Yeah.
last place I saw them was on eBay or Etsy. They're like $400 American.
Oh my goodness, that's
I
not.
know, but
Wow.
what a
Great.
thing to have, hey? What a thing to have, or a
Yes.
Saurian brandy container. Oh, that'd be so great.
I guess I have a friend that has one of those. Damn him.
Oh,
But he also
jelly.
he also has that $1,500 custom made Enterprise with all the lights and everything. But that's way back
Oh,
when that company was making them but per order many years ago. That
oh
lights
no
up.
way.
Things like
Oh,
3 feet long or whatever. Crazy. It's
so jelly, so
yeah.
jelly.
He's got some stuff. Well, are we ready to warp on to the next episode, or are we done with the great Charlie X?
What do you think, chat? I think we're ready to giddy up and go.
Got
If
another.
you have any passing comments or anything that we didn't touch upon, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Indeediousness, because we're about to go to another great classic. This is
Yeah.
a classic night right here. Three. I mean, at least in my opinion, like I said, we've had some people that don't like them as much as we do, I guess. But I love the next one as well. Balance of Terror, probably another top tenner. I love this episode. So go for
Yeah.
it.
All right, here we go, folks. When several Federation outposts along the neutral zone, the border between the Federation and Romulan territories, suddenly go silent, Kirk suspects that the Romulans are responsible. 2 centuries earlier, Earth fought a fierce battle against that aggressive alien society. The neutral zone was a result of a peace treaty that resolved the conflict. A distress call from yet another outpost serves to confirm Kirk's suspicions, and the Enterprise arrives just in time to witness the destruction of the Federation Outpost 4, incinerated by a blast fired from a Romulan ship. The small vessel quickly disappears under the cover of an invisibility cloak. Although the power of the enemy's new weapon is alarming, Kirk learns that the Romulan ship has a number of weaknesses. While it is invisible, its crew can no more see the Enterprise than Kirk's crew can see them, and the small craft must become visible in order to fire its weapon. As Kirk engages in a deadly game of cat and mouse with a Romulan captain, the Enterprise sensors provide a startling glimpse of the mysterious species. The Romulans, never before seen by human or Vulcan, look exactly like Vulcans, which leads one crewman to doubt Spock's loyalty to the Federation. And just so you know, on the block Ehrman text, we're on tiles 60, 61. Even though the wedding ceremony in Ballads of Terror never reached its anticipated conclusion, it still sets an important precedent in the Star Trek universe. Years later, Captain Jean-Luc Picard would repeat the wedding vows first spoken here by Captain Kirk when Picard performs a wedding ceremony aboard his Enterprise in the episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Data's Day. A few years after that, the vows appear again, modified only slightly for the wedding of Captain Benjamin Sisko and his beloved Cassidy Yates in Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Till Death Do Us Part. The matrimonial verbiage, much loved within Star Trek fandom, has been spoken in many real-life wedding ceremonies around the world. In the interest of those who wish to hang on to it for a future reference, here are the first few lines. But you're on your own for the rest, lost to posterity when Red Alert was sounded in Balance of Terror. Since the days of the first wooden vessels, all shipmasters have had one happy privilege, and that is uniting two people in the bonds of matrimony. And so we are gathered here today with you, your name, and you, the other person's name, in the sight of your fellows in accordance with our laws. So if you want to get married, folks, that's all we got for you. So we're moving on to tile 62, 63. Once again, McCoy and Spock take diametrically opposed positions on critical decisions. On a critical decision. McCoy, always the humanitarian, argues against the Enterprise crossing into the neutral zone to hunt down the Romulan ship, since the act could trigger a devastating war. Spock, ever practical, says Kirk should run the risk of starting a possible war in order to prevent a probable one, and Kirk ultimately yields to that cold bit of logic. Later, Kirk privately admits to McCoy that he's having second thoughts. When we're on that bridge, the captain says, I see the men waiting for me to make the next move. And Bones, what if I'm wrong? Although this could be an opportunity for McCoy to swing Kirk to his side, the good doctor instead counsels Kirk to avoid second-guessing himself. In this galaxy, he says, there is a mathematical probability of 3 million Earth-type planets. And in all of the universe, 3 million galaxies like this. And in all of that, and perhaps more, only one of each of us. Don't destroy the one named Kirk.
Yes.
There are striking parallels between Ballads of Terror and a pair of World War II films made in the 1950s, Run, Silent Run Deep, and The Enemy Below. Each film deals with the U.S. Vessel facing off against a formidable vessel of an Axis power, Japan in the former and Germany in the latter. The Star Trek episode written by Paul Schneider cleverly weaves together key elements from each movie, and Matt Jeffries sets out the Romulan bridge effectively conveys the cramped feel of a World War II submarine, complete with a periscope-like monitor. Run,
Silent Run Deep may have inspired the plot thread about an officer who longs for vengeance. In Balance of Terror, a role held by Styles, the episode's navigator of the week. And also the idea of releasing wreckage and bodies from a damaged vessel to mislead the opposition. In Run Silent Run Deep, it's the aliens who command the sub. In The Enemy Below, however, it's the Germans who operate under in a U-boat. The Enemy Below influenced many of the human elements that make The Balance of Terror such a memorable episode, particularly in respect that the two captains gain for each other over the course of their encounter. Another memorable creation that originated in the fertile imagination of artist Hua Chang, the Romulan bird of prey drifts in and out of view in Balance of Terror, a phantom ship that made a strong impression upon Star Trek fans, even though it never received the screen time it deserved. Hua Chang's model was presumably put out to pasture after this episode. The brief glimpse of a similar Romulan vessel the following year in the Deadly Years simply reused footage shot from this episode. The next time Kirk's crew had a close encounter with the Romulans in the Enterprise incident, the secretive species was traveling aboard a consignment of Klingon battlecruisers. The name Bird of Prey would live on, however, assigned to similarly stealthy enemy ship introduced in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. That bird, however, was a Klingon vessel. And that's all that Block and Arrowman have to say about this episode. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Well, again, broken record, but I do love this one. And I also love the whole submarine aspect. That's absolutely right. It's the Enemy Below with Kurt Jurgens, I believe, was a great film, and this just that the whole submarine type of drama about it, where they really, they really played off of that very well. I thought Mark Leonard is just terrific. We learned new character things in this episode about Spock, about Vulcans and Romulans, the Romulan War, which I know later was kind of messed around with a little bit, canon speaking, canon, but I just love it. I mean, the tension of this episode. It's just one of the wonderful things on Star Trek is they can have an episode where they never leave the ship and be really exciting. Almost never leave the bridge, other than a brief bit in Kirk's quarters and in the conference room.
Yeah. And
the only other location we get, of course, is the Romulan bridge. I just love everything about this episode. It's funny because the two commanders never really speak other than for like just a minute at the end. And yet they this admiration growing between the two of them, I thought was fascinating. I love some of the stuff that the command, we really don't know his name. The Mark Leonard character.
Yeah.
On the Romulan, we just know he's the Romulan commander. Is getting this admiration for Kirk because their commander is not one to repeat a mistake.
Well, he can basically read his mind.
Yes.
He's tearing apart his battle strategy, and he is an accomplished tactician. The Mark Leonard's character is a complete tactician, an expert for the Romulan Empire. So the fact that Kirk just picks him apart, I mean, he's playing a whole different game. In the previous episode, we talked about chess. Kirk is chess, and the Romulan commander in this case is checkers. He might as well be playing checkers with a chicken, because Kirk just takes him apart, and handily. It isn't even difficult. Once he sees his weakness, he's in there, and I think that this is a part of the writing to demonstrate that not only is Kirk a tactician, an accomplished tactician. And I spoke about this at length when we first introduced this series to everyone. Remember, Kirk is not like any other captain. He's even more learned than Picard. He is a walking stack of books. So this episode is really a tribute to that.
Absolutely. He is, and Again, well, again, the commander, like I said, he says that line. This one is not. This one is not one to repeat a mistake. Even since he's a sorcerer, this one, he knows everything. He knows every move. He's really impressed with Kirk because there's the thing. Kirk can make a mistake like anyone else. He always learns from it. He never repeats it. That's why he's such a great captain.
Yep.
And this commander's no slouch himself either, so he knows. He's good too.
At 30 minutes past the hour, we have a wonderful comment from Mark with a C. Could we put that up while we talk? And then there's
Sure.
one right after that by Mr. Feliciano that I would love to put up as well.
The best man at my wedding gave a very short speech. He said in a few sentences, and then said, "Live long and prosper." Good man.
Peace and long life, Mark with a C.
Indeed. And yes, this is Orange. Look, that's a great choice for favorite episode. It's a lot of people's favorite episode.
This is something special, Mr. Feliciano.
It is truly. It's just remarkable. I mean, yeah, you can use the word perfect. I know, but what the hell? It is a lot. I mean, if you're someone just getting introduced to this show and you watch them in production order like this, you are in. I mean, you if you don't get hooked by this one and the other two we talked about tonight so far, this just may not be the show for you.
And I should say, because I think I'm remiss. I believe that I may have left that out at the top of the reading from the Arrowman block book. So, folks at home, if you're keeping track, this is season 1, episode 14, but the prod code is 9.
Yes.
And you're getting some love from Rod Thunderheart at 32 minutes past the hour for your comments on Kirk. Yeah.
Yes. Kirk was just so cool. I mean, again, that's why he's the best. I mean, that's why I used to get in these childish arguments, because I am childish, with people, with the old stupid ass, was it Kirk versus Picard type debate. And, we would get into it. I think, yeah, okay, sure. Okay. The universe is at stake. Who do you want out there? Who are you going to call? Not the Ghostbusters. Who do you want, Kirk or Picard? Well, you want Kirk, because there's the guy you can depend on.
Yep.
There's the guy who is going to be aggressive and just, I don't know. He's the best. I'm sorry.
Yep.
No, I'm not sorry. Sorry.
Yep. So I have some show notes here. I've got Mark Lenard, the Romulan commander, is better known for playing Sarek. Lenard plays a Romulan, a Klingon, and a Vulcan in TOS. And of course, we also see him in TNG. This is a copycat of the submarine film The Enemy Below, which was included in the block book from 1957. And I want everyone at home to know that the author of this particular episode actually realized that he had watched that film and then written this episode. So he openly admitted it thereafter, that it was ripped from The Enemy Below. Some stuff that may not be available to you on the internet that you should know about this episode. The term photon torpedo was invented in a later episode, The Arena. The same effect is used in this episode, but it's called a phaser. We have another brilliant astronaut, female astronaut, and female military officer working in weapons engineering. That's Barbara Bodovin, which is Lieutenant Angela Martin. This is before women were allowed to do that, of course. And also we watch Uhura take the helm. She takes the nav. And that is just getting more into the heart of what I'm always saying about how Nichelle Nichols, Uhura, is the grand dame of progression for women, and is just unbelievable. She is such a talented astronaut and an outstanding Starfleet officer. At one point, not only is she at the helm, but she also takes over the communications from that panel. So she's doing double duty. So we have some really great moments for women like Sandra Feliciano and myself, women who work in STEM. Women who work in male-dominated environments. So just absolutely a testament to this wonderful series, moving women's issues forward and empowering women in ways that truly challenged the status quo. I also have this is one of the top rated episodes by Nerds and Geeks. I have another note here. The staff meeting is such good writing, such good television. And I think we have Dee Oberg talking a little bit about that, or maybe it was somebody else. They also enjoyed that wonderful exchange at the staff meeting where Spock yields to his biggest critic. And then I have here Vulcan's. Oh, yes, it's important to mention that the Vulcan colonization behaviors were far worse than that of humans. So this is one of the reasons why Vulcans really needed to get a handle on their behavior and their emotions. And I have so much sexual chemistry betwixt Rand and Kirk here. And then I have a note about how the parting words from the Romulan commander, which is of course played by Mark Lenard, are so ironic within the text as also as a text. So because we are going to see Lenard again, and he is going to have a different relationship with Kirk. So I thought that was really beautiful and cool that they put that at the end.
Yes, absolutely. That's Mark Lenard's terrific, by the way, we should say.
Yeah, just a fabulous human being. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. Just love him. He's just something else. I just love him.
He was obviously not only just absolutely wonderful as Sarek. I was a big fan of the short-lived, unfortunately short-lived Planet of the Apes TV series.
Yes.
Plays General Urko on there, and he's fantastic on that show.
Yeah.
Of course, he's great in everything. And not that we know a lot that he's done, of course. I mean, we've seen a lot that he's done. I believe he was on He was on a series called a series called Here Come the Brides. I think before this. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know much regular stuff that he has done.
Yeah, he's just and his performance only gets better as he stays within our IP. Like he just becomes such a strong character. He has almost a grounding force. When he walks in the room, he makes magic wherever he goes, and he's just so outstanding.
Yes, he even plays a Klingon for a brief second at the beginning of Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
He does.
You can't tell though. I mean, I still look every time I look. I can't see him in there. I can't see him in there at all. Mm-hmm. It's almost like he's wearing the ape mask. I mean, I just can't see him.
Yeah.
In there. Let's see what some of our friends are saying.
Yeah, let's see what the chat's saying.
I agree, Katie Carr. The score is terrific for a lot of episodes of Star Trek. Fred Steiner. I mean, obviously, Alexander Courage's music is wonderful. Fred Steiner, who did not all, but most of the incidental music in Star Trek, he was really underrated. I mean, we don't hear enough about him. I mean, I love Alexander Courage's theme and all that stuff, and it's great. But you don't hear enough about Fred Steiner. He was terrific. Let's see here. Yeah, again, love that ending line. From the Romulan commander in Another Reality. I could have called you friend. Yeah, that we touched on.
And he has that opportunity to do that later on. So nice little touch of irony there.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Kirk also listens to advice in the briefing room.
Yes, so it was Mark with a C. Yes, it was Mark with a C who said that. I had that in my notes as well. Isn't that a great moment? That's such a great exchange.
Yep. It's just amazing. Kurt, let's see here. Aggressive but cool-headed at the same time. Yes, he is that. He is assertive. He's assertive for sure. Well, this is the only time we saw a printed book on the original series. Actually on the show. Don't forget Court Martial. There are plenty of books in that one. If you mean a book, if you mean an actual just book in a scene or something, Doug, there was Court Martial. Remember old Samuel T. Cogley? Books, young man, books.
Yes, exactly.
I get sad when I see Jean-Luc shambling around the Uber Eats commercial. Oh, looks. Yeah, don't get me started on that one, Rob Thunderheart.
Insert barf icon.
Oh, that commercial is disgusting. Seeing both of those. Yep. Fools. Grumble.
Yep.
Kirk can make a decision without having to call a meeting. Yes. See, one of my knocks on Picard early on, way back when Raquel was, I used to call Picard Captain Conference. He would call it damn. They could be under full-fledged attack, and he would call a damn conference.
So is that why when you and I first met and we first started talking about Star Trek, and I said that Kirk was a far better captain because he could listen, but he was more in command. Now this makes sense to me. This is why you and I agree on so much. I wasn't aware that you used to say that, but yeah, okay. So this is it just makes sense. I'm understanding you more in a deeper way now. But I wholeheartedly agree.
Well, yeah. Remember what was it? Was it Q Who or whenever they were under attack by the Borg?
Yeah.
And Picard stands up and goes, and he's about to make this. He was going to supposedly say something. Conference. He calls a Are you shitting me? Calling a conference?
Yeah.
On the bridge? What the hell's wrong with you, dude?
It's also the fact that he doesn't listen to anything that they say anyways. And this is because he denies any type of emotional intimacy with anyone. So this is one of the reasons why I prefer Kirk. This is why I prefer pretty much all of the other captains to Picard, because he has this reserved nature that I don't think works. I think it would have worked well if we would have stuck with that French captain that Gene wanted, because remember he didn't want Patrick Stewart. I think just when you have the character written the way that it was, and then you bring in a British person, I think it just compounded it and made him so icy and just ridiculous. I love Kirk's rapport with his staff, and the fact that he's able to listen to them, entertain their thoughts and their advice, and either reject it or accept it, but at least he's actually listening and has an intimate relationship with these people.
Absolutely. I want to say hello to one of my oldest and dearest friends, the great Ace Cast Iron, a superhero to me. Hey, buddy, wherever you are out there, bro. Thanks for being here. I love you, man. I'm so glad to see you popping in, buddy. I dedicate this tonight's show to you because you're a hero, man. And I love you, bub. Let's see here. I have the Diamond Select Romulan Bird play some great quotes from the episode. Oh, cool. I like that. Nice. Yes, we used to, Mark and I, I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Castine and I would often make a joke about Picard and say we would just yell conference. I called him Captain Conference. And by the way, I was many years ago, in fact, I think I took a picture of it. I was working I was working a job where I had to go to a lot of state buildings, and I walk into a state building. I kid you not, because again, it was a running gag between my friends and I, the Captain Conference, and I like Picard and all that stuff, but I made fun of him. Well, I'm walking through this office building and I see this conference room. It said, I swear, it's the Picard Conference Room. That's a very Cajun type of a name for down here, or whatever, So it was named after some actual dude named Picard. But I said, oh my God. Picard Conference Center. So I took a picture and showed it to all my friends. They got it. No one else.
Yeah.
Oh, so stupid.
Oh, I got lots of comments rolling in here.
Yes, shall look now only exists to make Kirk shine. Yeah, sadly, well, JLP was the voice of reason. Kirk was just a total package. That is absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There, Rod. I'm with you, my friend. Yep. Well, I do. There's some. Oh, there's a Galaxy Quest documentary someone mentioned. I'd love to see that. I love Galaxy Quest.
The Felicianos, they're leaving.
Oh my, well,
can we please put that up before everybody else, and then we'll get back to the show at 45 minutes past the hour. Clobberin Times and Raquel Briggs. We have to head out, sadly. It's once again a great stream. Listen, Felicianos, you guys are just salt of the earth people. I love your company, and I know Mike does too. I think everyone on this stream does. Thank you for all the hard work that you do on everyone's streams. And you guys are just the best wrenches. And you guys are just great nerds, great geeks, just great Trekkies, and wonderful people to be around. Have a lovely weekend. And I will see you next week on Doomcock's Friday Night Frolics.
RN, look, dude, if I know, because I know you work a lot and you can't stay up late a lot of times, and I've been wanting to get together with you to hang out and do a show. If I have to do it at an earlier time on a day you got, like even if it's a Saturday, a few hours before Raquel and I do this one, let me know, dude. Or one day a little bit earlier because I will be on Monday night. By the way, Monday night show reviewing WandaVision, and then Wednesday night doing an Open Geek show. So just let me know when you got an early time, brother.
Hail Felicianos, says
Hail
the whole chat,
Felicianos.
because you guys are just great. Have a great weekend.
Great weekend, my friends. Thank you so much for being here.
And somebody brought up Das Boot. I think that was Eric K. He brought up Das Boot. Yeah, and also The Hunt for Red October.
Yes.
That
Great.
intellectual play of trying to read each other's signals, and the minute that you know that you are correctly reading somebody else's brain, it makes for compelling film. It makes for compelling TV. I really enjoy that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Did anyone mention? Yes. Earlier, someone mentioned it was some sort of documentary on Amazon. My friend Ace was telling me.
Yep.
Oh, it's a new Amazon series. Das Boot series on Amazon. Really? Not so. Not the old movie then.
I thought he was talking about Das Boot.
Oh, yeah. Well, now I'm confused. There's a series of Das Boot. I know there was a movie. You're going to explain WandaVision thing. Don't look for a good explanation, dude. But I'm gonna review it. Yeah, you sound as confused as I am.
I watched the trailer, and that's all I'm gonna watch.
RMB, Robert Meyer Burnett posted today. He said the new big split in fandom: love or people who love or people who hate WandaVision.
It looks weird.
It's a little early for that, though. After they dropped 2 episodes instead of 1. And all I'm saying, because I love those characters from the comics, and I do like those 2 actors from the MCU movies, so I'm willing to give it a shot. But I do think they should have kind of started maybe getting to some kind of a point in the second episode. It's fun seeing all that Bewitched and old 60s sitcom throwback stuff on there. But come on, let's get a move on.
Yeah, I think it looks like crap. And
yeah, so far,
the trailer looks really odd, and it felt really strange, like some sort of cheap Bewitched, and I wasn't feeling it. I got you. It's just not where I want to. That's not where I want to spend my time.
He's made his point's kind of there though, because there are people who really hated it in only 2 episodes. We don't know what's going to happen, and other people just thought were just as blown away how much they loved it. So. You got me, but I'm just one who's going to reserve judgment. But I do think it needs to get going. No, not a documentary or a series. There's a Galaxy Quest movie in the works. Oh God! And Alan said the script is okay. Well, look, you know me when it comes to modern remakes of any damn thing, especially if it's something I love. But we shall see. We shall see. So,
and Eric K did mean Das Boot.
Oh, okay. He said, I meant the original movie Das Boot in German. Is the best in English. Is the best in English is still great. Okay, I got you.
And The Hunt for Red October. I feel that when I'm watching this.
Yeah,
like I just that mental chess, trying, like I said earlier, trying to read somebody's mind, and then and especially when it's your enemy.
Yes. Yeah, let's sail into history.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do like that.
I like Rod Thunderheart's comment here. I'm always suspicious when early reviews are singing praises. Yes, it's a little odd, isn't it? It's kind of like you read the first 2 chapters of a book and you're like, this is the best book I've ever read in my life. I don't need to read anymore. And that seems to be what's happening in the new fandoms. They're all about the transmedia narratives. And that's just scholar talk for people find out that there's a nerddom and a geekdom in an IP. And they want to be able to be a part of that culture. They want to market themselves in that culture, or they want to join that social group. So what they do is they go on social media and they join in all of the conversations, and they watch review videos, and they do all that kind of stuff. The problem is that they never engage in the actual IP. And so you just have people talking about being a part of something that they've never actually watched. So
I got
you. I'm good without that.
I totally understand. I don't watch much anymore other than like it's old stuff, but I really loved Cobra Kai. And I'm and because it's the MCU, and I watch everything they do. I watched this one But yeah, I don't watch much new stuff, so I could get away with a little bit of time wasted. If it sucks, I'm not gonna tolerate it for long. Okay, so yes, it's a documentary about Galaxy Quest with everyone, obviously with everyone except for the late great Alan Rickman. So I will definitely watch that. Yeah. Um. So we love Balance of Terror. Did you have any more to add about it? Because it could certainly there's I mean plenty more to say about it. A
There
lot of
is.
first, a lot of stuff in there that is steeped in Trek lore, like mentions of the Romulan War,
Yep.
which again was touched upon a bit in Enterprise, and some say they kind of messed around with it canonically, I suppose, because we're not supposed to know much about Romulans or whatever, and it was fought with atomic weapons, and
Yep.
that's kind of out the window now. That kind of stuff doesn't bother
The
me that
nuclear
much.
warhead. There are also other things that Enterprise learned from this episode, and they were good lessons learned. One of those things is the nature of these ships, and so when we're looking at this Romulan bird of prey, and we're looking at this ship, we should be looking at something that is quite cramped. A galaxy class starship or a big starship, that wouldn't be as common. And when you're talking about battle, you are talking about something that's smaller. You are talking about something that's cramped. You are talking about something that's really military. My husband's father did the electrical on nuclear submarines, and there were no bowling alleys. Let me tell you that. So we've got a bowling alley on Enterprise, but at the same time, I really liked the way that Enterprise decided to make the NX-01 so cramped because it made me feel more military. Of course,
Yes.
as did the coveralls. The coveralls, I just
Hmm.
absolutely
Hmm.
love that aspect of it
Yes.
as well. And you can see that Enterprise has ripped many lessons from this episode. It is inextricably linked to Enterprise. Enterprise nodded to this episode in many, many ways and learned from it as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's of course the character that I guess you shouldn't talk about Balance of Terror without at least talking a little bit about the character of Styles.
Hmm.
An interesting element of another I guess a Trek building moment where we have uh, an example of how Star Trek can talk about a certain type of bigotry without going overboard with it too much and without virtue signaling. Just make it matter of fact. Where Styles has a family history with the Romulan War.
Yes.
When we realize that for the first time in ever humans ever seeing Romulans, according to this, realize that Romulans and they, they look like humans with some ears and stuff. They don't look like the bumpy head of Romulans we ended up with later.
Yep.
So Romulans and Vulcans are similar. When we see that, he lets kind of a little bit of. He's a 23rd century gentleman, but he does let his prejudice kind of come through. And one of the greatest scenes in Trek I've always loved is when he makes a couple of cracks about Spock, as I'm sure you're well aware, and Kirk just God, one of the great lines in Trek says, "Here's one thing you can be sure of, Mister. Leave any bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on the bridge." And that's it.
Yes. I was
Did he
just
make?
going to read off that quote to you right now.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we're supposed to be grappling with that, right? That's our prejudices are supposed to be um we're supposed to be considering them, and in many IPs, especially the modern ones, you see this didactic approach, and that's just scholarly talk for the way that the author decides the moral view that the viewer should take. And of course, in this IP, we see somebody who is very cerebrally minded, and he wants you to decide for yourself by giving you information. So he likes to play with this idea of presenting a type of bias or prejudice or bigotry, and then he shows the way that it plays out in society, and how it can look ugly and it can hurt, and especially when it is hailed upon one of our most beloved characters. And so in that way, it's helping the viewer to understand the sting of bigotry, the sting of somebody being just not liking you because of who you are. And so I think that's brilliant here, and I love it. Especially I like the fact that I get to decide, and I'm shown that sting, I'm shown that pain. I don't have someone coming in an overwhelmingly didactic way, in this stranglehold way, moralizing and whipping and scolding and finger wagging at me. It's something completely different here. And for the time, the fact that both of these people have relatively the same skin color, we're really talking about Gene asking us what it's like over the Iron Curtain, what it's like when two guys are in submarines and they both have nukes, and what you're thinking about that other person, because ultimately when you blow one another out of the water, you are human beings. So I love that play here. I love that the intelligence of it, and I like that's what we're thinking about.
Absolutely, so wonderfully said. In fact, you have a compliment from one of my dear friends, Ace Castard. You
Oh,
have
thank you so much,
great
Ace.
diction, ma'am, as you can see there. So, and yes, the writers in Trek get some much backstory in with just a few lines. Yes, absolutely, that they do. They because they're writers, they're not these idiots who quote unquote produce or write shows today. They can do it in the script because they're writers. Because they went after professional writers, they went after science fiction writers back then, and they went after people with experience. Yeah, they're not like the CW writers of today.
Yeah.
That write everything, including STD.
Certainly Blake and Poe are not in CW
No,
shows. And certainly
nah,
I could definitely tell you Spinoza is not in CW shows.
no. You're right. And if they do stick some stuff in there, it's very disingenuous coming from them when they
Oh,
do.
yes, yes.
If they do, I doubt that they do. Yes, decide for yourself. Trek and Orville, exactly. Does that they do it right? Not forcing an opinion down your throat. They just present you with things.
Well,
And
because the
that's why
thing
they're
is,
so good.
Ace, is that I think that we stopped believing that the enemy is us. They're just on the other side of the issue. I think that they've lost trust, that these corporations who are creating corporate IP, they're not authors like Gene Roddenberry. They're teams of people who come up with a corporate narrative, and they don't appear to have any faith in who we are as human beings, because really all you have to do to change someone's mind is to remind them that the other person is a human being, and to show that sting, to show that pain, to show that humanity and the sameness, the oneness. And they do that to great effect. I think that Star Trek did do a wonderful thing for the civil rights movement. I think they did a wonderful thing for the women's movement. They did all of these wonderful things without ever insulting, punching, kicking, or humiliating their audience. They trusted that their audience could find their own way to the truth, and to compassion, and to reasonableness, through rationalism. And that's what makes it wonderful. I think it's also why we're still watching it 50 years later.
Oh, it's just absolutely such a wonderful point you made there. And again, it's later as Mark with the C says, Spock saves Styles despite his racism. Well, yeah, despite
Yes.
that, I mean, he saves him because that's what Spock is. And yes, despite the racism, and Styles does thank him and kind of apologize, and Spock doesn't give a crap, which is fun.
But isn't that a great moment? Because
It's
that's a
truly
teaching
wonderful, yes.
moment. Because that's teaching us. That's teaching us as human beings, reminding us. Maybe some of us already know that lesson, but that reminds us as human beings that our behavior is within us. Our behavior doesn't happen to us through others. Our integrity and who we are is within us. It is within our power. It is within our command. And so here we see Spock, one of the most beloved characters, shoulder this hail of prejudice, and he does not return with more prejudice. Nobody gets their eyes dug out, nobody gets shot. He doesn't, go out and become a mass murderer like in New Trek. He turns around and shows his compassion, his rationalism, his reasonableness, and that's how you do it. You lead by example. You don't lead with violence, and you don't lead with punching and kicking. You lead with rationalism, and you lead by example.
Absolutely, as always, very well said. Rod Thunderhart says, "See, back then they used a few seconds a backstory that made you understand someone's motivation, so we get why they do what they do." Yes, it's called writing, and it's a shame that we're so impressed by it now, but we are, because of how bad the writing is now on garbage like STD and P Hard, to name just two culprits. Yep, storytelling, a nonviolent story. Yeah, and it's a key. Your key in there, Smartsy, is storytelling. They don't really know how to do that anymore.
Yeah,
that's why Cobra Kai is so good. They're great at characterization, and that helps with their storytelling. It's one of the few that can do it. Katie says, exactly. Racial differences done with elegance and true equality. Trek is always ahead of its time. That is so true.
And truly being written on your heart, not empty signals, not empty platitudes, not punching and kicking your way through the issues, but creating real cultural transformation and real enlightened witness, just completely opening up somebody's mind and changing minds and changing society by bringing people together. And we can't hope for more than that, can we, folks?
Absolutely. By the way, Smart Steve touched on something I was about to get to. It's a fun kind of a dopey fan type thing to do, but you might. I was gonna bring this up anyway. But is Styles the same Styles of the Captain of the Excelsior in Star Trek 3? I don't know. He was played kind of comedically by James B. Sicking, and he's kind of a Pratt. So maybe even though Styles was a bit contrite at the end of Balance of Terror, maybe he became something of a Pratt later, but moved up through the ranks and became Captain of the Excelsior with its little trans warp drive. And if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon. So who knows? Who knows? I does not know, sir. But
I will research that for you, Smart Steve.
They never say
when we get to it. Yeah, I'll see if there's something buried around, if it's in somebody's notes. I promise I will look into that when we cross that bridge. Before we cross that bridge, I will make sure that see if there is any goat under the bridge. I will check for you.
Yeah, and another thing, when we're talking about Kirk, just to talk a little more about Kirk, how you talked about how Kirk solves his problems with his intellect and his. It's always just driven me absolutely insane when people would say stupid crap like, Kirk just thought with his fist. He was just a trigger-happy cowboy and all this kind of crap. Because he gets that stupid-ass accusation all the time. Let me tell you something.
You mean from people who haven't watched the show, but they have lots of transmedia narratives?
Yes.
They're trekkers on every single social media. Yeah, those people.
Because he was the kind of guy that knew when to fight. But he also always when not to fight. Yes, Kirk got in a lot of fights. He couldn't avoid them. He did it, but he never just shot first, and he wasn't ready, fire, aim. And this is a character who was created by a guy who he created all the other thoughtful characters. Why wouldn't Kirk? And he didn't create, but he wrote a lot of Paladin, the greatest Western ever made. Have Gun Will Travel. And if you notice, Paladin, this is a gunfighter who always. And I think Roddenberry contributed a lot to this because he wrote his episodes are some of the best ones. He did everything he could to avoid a fight, to avoid a gun battle. But this was the old West. When he had to, he would blast a sucker. And he was but Paladin always, because he was a hired gun. I think Roddenberry was one of the ones who wrote one of the first line when people would say you're a gunfighter and we just think they're all killers. He says, I am not an assassin. He said it more than once. Paladin said that. I'm not a hired gun that way. And again, he was a thoughtful, brilliant character. Was Paladin? Kirk is very much like Paladin. Yes, he can fight. Yes, he can shoot. He can do all these things if he has to do it, and he will do it when he has to do it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to. And Kirk is always a thoughtful character.
Yeah, and folks need to remember too that he is a walking, he's a stack of books with legs. That's how
Yes.
he's described. So they had to add a little athleticism to the man. They couldn't turn him into a completely, a complete nerd with, all the manual dexterity of a diseased yak. He was going to need some type of vehicle to put that in. So of course they wanted to make him the whole character and make him super athletic. I also really love here at 6 minutes past the hour, we have Mark with the C
There
laying
you
our
go.
question to bed
There you
through
go.
spelling, because spelling is wonderful. The Excelsior is Captain Styles, spelled differently. Thank you for putting
Thanks.
that kid to bed for us, Mark with a C. So
Thanks, Mark
question
with a C.
answered, Smart Steve.
Well, there you go. There you go. Again, all this time I didn't even realize that I never looked at the spelling. What a dope I am. And of course, I can't really spell anyway, so it wouldn't have helped. Thank you, Mark C. Appreciate that, brother. So, any more on Balance of Terra, or any more thoughts? Everyone love the episode. Anyone else got anything? Something they love about it, or a quote? We got most of the quotes out there.
Yeah. Speak now or
well,
forever hold your peace.
I did like the relationship between the commander of the Romulan vessel and the Centurion. Also,
Yeah.
that was, again, the little weasel there in that picture with him is one thing, but the Centurion was an interesting character, his faithful companion.
Yes.
And
we also have the introduction of the term praetor here. So we have the Centurion and the praetor here. So yeah, it's when I was it's very cool.
When I was on the set of Star Trek Farragut and Continues set back in 2013, they because there was an episode with Romulans, they redid this bridge, this Romulan bridge, and again that console looks like a TARDIS console. It's very small. Let's go to going back to what you're talking about. Very cramped. They don't even have chairs. They don't have chairs. Chairs are for wussies, I guess. So Romulans thinks chairs are for sissies. I don't know.
Well, there can't be very many places to sit when the real estate. It's expensive real estate. You think Manhattan's expensive? Get in one of these, even in real life, one of these hyper science forward military devices, and I'm just going to call it a device because I mean it could be any and all manner of military paraphernalia, and it's cramped. There isn't a lot of space. I mean, your nan isn't going to be in the back of your tank knitting. There's going to be some type of new hyper forward, hyper intelligent material going to be in that space. Space is a premium. Space is a premium.
Absolutely. Again, and this exchange is also, I guess we're kind of remiss that if we don't at least mention that these characters had, well, the Romulans are not humanity, but they had a very deep character arc, by such really good writing. When we find out that this commander of the played by Mark Leonard, he's not some evil warmonger. He's kind of tired of war. He doesn't want war. He's doing his duty because that's what Romulans are.
Yeah.
And that's what his version of Dr. McCoy, I guess, is telling him, being his conscience and everything. But he doesn't really like the praetor that much, but he's going to do it anyway. But he kind of he's going to do his duty because that's what he does.
We see this this verbiage, this diction, the choice in diction is showing us that this is Roman, right? But what we're supposed to do, and this is a tacit transaction, an unspoken agreement with the audience, but we're supposed to insert any enemy here, and during this time you could insert just about anyone in here, Russia, Germany. It's this fear of the unknown, and this is what I was saying earlier. There gets a point in war when men come to blows, fist to fist, face to face, or bomb to bomb, and there's a stripping away of the ideology of what you're fighting for, and you realize that other person is just a person, And we see this a lot in war. There are probably millions of battle stories of people trying to rescue the enemy or compassionating the enemy, giving the enemy a dignified death, relieving them from pain, or even saving their lives. So this is something that human beings grapple with. When does the enemy become a human being? When does your ideology, your reason for fighting, the telos, the end goal, when does that become less important than your humanity? And that's what's on the table here. And that's why this is such a compelling episode. There are many ways to look at this juicy steak, and there's lots on offer in this episode.
Absolutely, so much. It is really amazing. Smart Steve, the mutinous Kirk, stole the starship. He did to rescue a friend. Yep, gets said starship boarded by enemy combatants and subsequently destroyed. Said enemy combatants by self-destruction. Stolen ship. Okay, I don't have a problem with any of that myself. He did what he had to do, but yeah, he was a little insubordinate there. But you know what? Hey, Starfleet owed him, and it turned out it was for the best because Klingons might have gotten their hands on Genesis. So there.
Yep.
I grapple with the yes.
Oh, we've got some Paradise Lost coming up.
For hate. Yep.
From hate's heart.
I blast breath at thee.
Yeah.
My buddy Ace is a big Khan fan.
I always make my husband stop at that part, or my husband actually stops at that part, and he always says, "Say it, honey, say it." So I yell, "Evilgasm," and then we continue watching.
Oh man, we love us some Khan.
Well, because he does go.
Anything else is a waste.
So it's evilgasm. He has an evilgasm on film.
Ace and I we quote Wrath the Khan so much. It's just absolutely, it's crazy.
It's great.
Oh, so are we ready to warp on to our next destination?
Yeah, you know what? We've made pretty good time here. I
Oh,
thought we were going to do a lot more than 2 hours, and here we are on the last episode, folks. We've almost arrived.
Oh, well, I hope we're covering it well to everyone's satisfaction, because I think we are covering it pretty well. We don't go through all the details. We point out a lot of, because anyone can watch them. We try to point out all those interesting facts that you've come up with and studied. Then we talk about our basic views on the episode. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the best way to celebrate this. And you and we are of one mind in this, that's what this show should be about. Clobberin Trek should be about celebrating this IP.
Absolutely.
So next up is season 1, episode 7, prod code 10, production code 10, folks. So if you're keeping track, this is number 10. Yeah, what are little girls made of? Or as I very fondly call it here at home, the penis and lurch. And some of you will automatically know what I'm talking about there. But if somebody says, "Oh, what are little girls made of?" What episode is that again? You will hear me exclaim, "Penis and lurch." So, without further ado, let's have some penis and lurch.
The Enterprise travels to the icebound planet of XO3 to learn the fate of Dr. Roger Corby, a renowned researcher in archaeological medicine who disappeared 5 years ago. Previous search missions found no trace of Corby or his research party, yet Nurse Chapel, Corby's fiancée, remains hopeful that he is alive. Against all odds, the Enterprise establishes communications with Corby, who is alive and well, living beneath the frozen surface of the planet within the remains of a research facility built by the Old Ones, the long-extinct natives of Exo. After Kirk and Chapel beam down, they discover that Corby is not alone. With him are two aides, middle-aged Dr. Brown, whom Chapel knows, and Andrea, an extremely beautiful young woman who is a stranger to Chapel. But even more disconcerting is Ruck, a frightening giant who Corby explains has lived in the underground caverns for millennia. The Old Ones left Ruck behind to watch over their equipment, equipment that Corby has plans for once he takes over the Enterprise. And of course, I would just like to keep us copyright compliant. We are reading from the block Arrowman, and we are on 6566, which is from Star Trek 365. Perhaps the title, What Are Little Girls Made Of, is a bit misleading. Andrea, Sherry Jackson, is indeed a girl android at any rate. And to look at her, one has to assume that all of the everything nice ingredients went into creating her. On the other hand, Ruck is definitely more of a snips and snails creation, a monster right out of the classic novel Frankenstein. While one might be tempted then to cast Dr. Corby in the role of Dr. Frankenstein, keep in mind that Ruck is the creation of the old ones. He merely worked for Dr. Corby, and then only until he only until he remembered his true heritage. There's still a lot of Frankenstein in this Robert Bloch script, as Kirk and Chapel feel their way through underground tunnels reminiscent of a haunted castle or catacombs in Corby's own resurrection from the grave. Also, the mix is more than a snippet of H.P. Lovecraft, a mentor to the horror writer Bloch. Bloch, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Anyways, many of Lovecraft's tales made reference to the old ones, unearthly alien beings from long ago who left behind vestiges of their civilization. As in What Are Little Girls Made Of, Lovecraft's the old ones ultimately were destroyed by their own monstrous creations. The dictionary defines half-breed as the offspring of parents of different races, especially the offspring of Native Americans and Caucasians. An earlier generation of moviegoer heard the term often, almost always in a derogatory way. Half-breed characters were pivotal to plot lines of pulp novels and socially relevant big-screen westerns. The latter often cast with actors who elicited feelings of empathy from the audience, such as Elvis Presley in Flaming Star, Audrey Hepburn in The Unforgiven, and even Star Trek's Captain Pike, Jeffrey Hunter, in The Searchers. Although the term is virtually absent from common usage today, replaced for the most part by the euphemistic mixed race, it was still fairly common in the 1960s. The writer's guide for this series even used it to describe Mr. Spock's half-human hereditary. He is biological, emotionally, and even intellectually a half-breed. And indeed, Spock's status as a half-breed on his homeworld is the reason he chose to attend Starfleet Academy rather than the Vulcan Science Academy. His background was never at issue to anyone on the USS Enterprise, which is why Kirk's effort to imprint his android double's consciousness with the expression half-breed, a verbal cue to his officer, was a very clever way to make the Vulcan prick up his ears. Kirk would use the exaggeration one additional time in Star Trek when he deliberately sought to infuriate the spore-addled Vulcan in the episode This Side of Paradise. Actress Majel Barrett, however you want to say it, appeared in the first Star Trek pilot episode, The Cage, as number 1, a by-the-book female officer and Christopher Pike's second in command on the Starship Enterprise. When NBC rejected that pilot, the network also rejected the notion of such a high-placed female officer. It allowed Gene Roddenberry the opportunity to produce a second pilot, stipulating that number 1 not be included as a member of the crew. That might have been the end of Barrett's Star Trek career, except for the fact that Roddenberry liked the actress. Well, he more than liked her. He was sleeping with her and Nichelle Nichols. Anyway, we're going to keep on going. She had appeared in a previous series, The Lieutenant, and he wanted to keep her on board the ship and the show. Thus, Nurse Chapel, Christine Chapel, was created. Barrett's new character first appeared in the episode The Naked Time, but viewers would not learn of her backstory until 3 weeks later in What Are Little Girls Made Of? Here they discovered she had abandoned a promising career on Earth to join the Enterprise crew in their trek through space, all in the name of love. It was a case of art imitating life. Several years later, Roddenberry and Barrett married, and they remained together until his passing in 1991. Despite Star Trek's notoriously slim budget, William Theis, or Theis, however you want to say his last name, never failed to deliver costumes with unique looking, with the unique look befitting a show set 300 years in the future. Each of the distinctive blue and green uniforms worn by Kirk, Dr. Corby, and Dr. Brown in What Are Little Girls Made Of was stitched together from separate jumpsuits, green and blue. The beautiful female android, Andrea, was dressed in a revealing pantsuit that seemed to owe a nod to the designer Rudy Genrich, whose 1964 design for the topless bathing suit also featured a daring use of V-straps stretched across the female torso, albeit with much less fabric. And that is the end of the comments for the block Arrowman text. That was page 69 or block 6970 or tile, however you want to refer to it, because of course it is an odd looking book. And for my notes, I just said the following. It's important that Nurse Chapel gave up a career in bioresearch. There was a censorship person present on the set for this entire episode. Shatner was actually kissed Sherry Jackson. So he actually had a sexual kiss with her. The first mention of Kirk's brother, George Samuel Kirk, who was married with children. One of only 3 episodes after the pilot where Dee doesn't appear. So this would be What Are Little Girls Made Of, Errand of Mercy, and The Menagerie Part 2. So if you're ever playing Star Trek trivia, remember that. It's important too that everyone says that Bloch or Bloch wrote this script. That's kind of true and kind of not true. And you guys are always hearing me talk about this, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it before I give up the mic here. But Bloch or Bloch did such a terrible job of writing this script that Gene Roddenberry was actually rewriting the script while he was filming it. This episode marks the end of the early black and white phaser. It was replaced by the more detailed blue and gray and black models. Also, New Trek people said that there were no other places to get androids. This is one of the things from the New Trek. And people were talking about, all these examples. Well, this is the first android in ST. And this is also the android making machine that I was referring to. This is how you make an android. And we have Brown and Andrea use the old style laser pistols from the Cage and from the Mantrap. And that's all I have in my notes, folks.
Well, first, let's say goodnight to our wonderful friend. If she hadn't left already, Katie Carr, we thank you for being here so much. She just said going to have to sign off for the night. It's been wonderful, my friends. Thank you for keeping traditional Trek minds alive, live long and prosper. You too, Katie. We really appreciate you being here, my dear. Thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you for coming, sweetheart. I'll see you later.
You are
I know you haven't left because you wouldn't leave without saying goodnight, but I'll see you on Twitter. And thank you so much. And also, everyone should know that Katie Carr has a wonderful blog that she's running. And today she did a tribute to the 26th for Voyager because it's Voyager Day.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't follow Katie Carr on Twitter, please do. And please go and visit her wonderful blog post on her passion for Voyager. Please do that.
Absolutely. This was not one of my super gigantic favorite episodes or anything. Robert Bloch was a fairly, I'm surprised to hear that about the writing thing. He was a fairly accomplished author and everything. He actually also wrote Wolf in the Fold. He seemed to write a lot of stuff to do with Jack the Ripper, if I remember right. But anyway, this one has some nice moments in it. I certainly don't hate it or anything. I don't know about you, but I think it's good. There's some good things in it. It wouldn't be one of my super favorites, but some key moments that I really do love the bit where more Kirk brilliance when he decides to mess with the mind of his copy to send the signal to Spock that we all have. Mind your own business, Mr. Spock. I'm sick of your happy interference. You hear? And I love that, and it's just he tipped Spock off, and that was pretty cool. Um, I forget the actor's name right now. The guy playing Corby. I've seen him in a lot of stuff though. Because
He was pretty popular back then. I remember him too.
Yeah.
He was in pretty much everything.
Right, every Western or every show that you watch from those old days, which I watch a lot. I watch a lot of the old shows, or have, and he's popped up and all kind of stuff. Good, he's fine. Finding out, having it's kind of interesting to have something for Nurse Chapel to do in an episode, which again, as we've talked about, like with Sulu and Hura and things like that, none of them really ever got to do a whole hell of a lot. She didn't. This is her biggest one, I guess, by far, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty good. As a toxic male, I certainly love that android lady.
My husband and I agree that she is the most beautiful woman in all of Star Trek. And that's saying something because we love Jolene. So, but we agree that she is the most beautiful natural woman in all of Star Trek. She's unbelievable. She's just absolutely gorgeous. And
Sherry Jackson,
my husband wants me to cosplay this. So I have to find.
I can't blame him.
I have to find someone to do it for me. But yeah,
that's great. What an outfit. I can't argue that. I don't know who I would pick as the most beautiful woman on Star Trek, but I certainly can't argue with that right now because she's just. Oh my
she's a total package. Come on, tell me she isn't a total package.
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, that's my favorite thing about the episode. I've always liked Ted Cassidy. I mean, so he's kind of a creepy, interesting character for a robot.
Yeah.
The story itself, really, when you start really digging into it, I don't know. Some of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Stuff like. You're not tipped off when they want you to come down by yourself, Kirk. And why does the transporter? I love how the selective use of the transporter. I've always thought how it can beam you down, but it's got to beam you down way, way outside in the cold. So it can't beam you through the rock. Yet they beam through rock all the time.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, not deep, but I don't know. What was it? I've seen there've been episodes where they beamed through rock before.
Yeah.
But again, this was early. I'm just nitpicking right there.
I think, and it's also really super important too that people at home respect writers, because the bottom line is you don't have a lot of time on these shows, and so sometimes things might be a little overwrought, or you might be trying to stuff too much into the episode, and you don't have time to unfurl it fully, to flesh it out and fill in all of those plot holes. So shoestring budget, and also not a lot of time. And I think sometimes authors want to do a great deal and they don't realize just how little time they have.
Yeah. Like as with all Star Trek, there are a lot of very interesting concepts in the episode about androids and different things like that. So it's fine. It's not one of the more imaginative stories they've done or more entertaining stories they've done.
No, and it is a little bit silly. Like I forget if it's a stalagmite or a stalactite that comes from the ceiling, but when he rips down the Steely Dan, the giant phallic symbol, the giant penis.
Yes.
It's just funny because if it were able to harm Rock, he would not be able to hold it basically in 3 fingers. So it's not my favorite episode either. But the thing is that sometimes I think that Star Trek just plays with ideas, and they want to take our minds somewhere. And people need to remember that on the whole, like we're just we're just going to the moon. We're just starting to explore space. So that socio-historical context is super important. But yeah, it's not super tidy. It does have a little bit of fringe around the edges. I concede to that.
Yeah. I mean, again, there are a lot of episodes I think that are far worse. I just don't think this is a particularly exciting episode.
Yeah.
Other than other than Sherry Jackson.
Sherry Jackson is just so wonderful to look at, and
Yes.
and I also really liked, especially when I was young, I really did like this whole idea of androids, and I really liked the idea of the fact that there was like this biomatter blob, that could be thrown onto that merry-go-round. Incidentally, I've read in several places, though this is not confirmed, but I've read it in several places, that the crew got drunk a couple of times while filming this, and actually used the machine as a merry-go-round while they were all inebriated, which I think is pretty hysterical.
Oh God, that sounds fun.
You could just imagine what they did with like the puddle of goo, like pre-Android. You know the puddle of goo man?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
You can just
the
imagine what they did with him while they were hammered going around the merry-go-round.
speaking of the big ridiculous stalactite wiener thingy.
Yeah.
All right, look, I realize it's 60s, a more innocent time where not everyone's mind goes straight to the gutter when they see it. I guess maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. When they're filming this thing, like, you know what? Maybe we should find something else for him to try to hit rock with, because this is ain't working.
Like
Look at
maybe
this.
a big rock, like pick up a big
Anything.
rock and
Anything.
leave the penis on the ceiling.
Right. I just, you don't think, didn't somebody go, hey, dude, don't you think this looks stupid? You don't think Shatner made jokes? Maybe they didn't. Again, it's a different time. Maybe they didn't even think about it.
Yeah, but maybe not,
But
because
I don't
you know
know.
you're talking about Gene Roddenberry reading Spinoza, so it's pretty
Yeah.
obvious that like I'm not speaking for him, but you know
No.
I am a huge fan of him, and I've studied him most of my life. And I will tell you this: that bringing the censor person in to monitor every single possibility of side boob from Sherry,
Mhm.
I think may have given him the impetus to go ahead and do the Steely Dan joke, the dildo joke, because the censor was otherwise occupied staring at Sherry Jackson, and I'm sure that tickled him pink. I'm sure that was a joke for him, but of course he couldn't see anything in public. They would pull the episode and burn it. So that just has to be I think that has to be a tacit transaction, an unspoken understanding betwixt Gene and his fandom, because they were following Sherry around, making sure there was no side boob, when meanwhile William Shatner was going to beat up Ruck with a giant wang.
Yeah, I guess it was intentional then. They figured, hey, Gene, in about 40 years, there'd be this thing called internet, and it'd be all over the place. There you go. And they didn't talk about that in there. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't know. Steve Mitchell. Stalactites are in the ceiling, as any fan of the atom will know. I'm a fan of the atom, but I'm not sure what that means, buddy.
Yeah. I get them mixed up because I don't go splunking. Like I'm not a caver. I've been in cenotes in real life, but I'm not a caver, so I get them mixed up. My area of expertise is communications and technology. I teach rhetoric and English, and I teach people about communications, media, technology, and society, but not about caves. But I do love Eric Kay's comment at 32 minutes past the hour. Hit Ruck with a rock.
I hit him with a rock. Now, my mind goes directly to the geekness when you say the Atom, Steve. I assume you mean the comic book character, the Atom, of which there are a few. But I guess he means that Atom. Unless he means actual atoms, but that wouldn't be the, would it? So
the Atom explained that in his origin issue. One drawn by Gil
Kane. That's right. Well,
this is comic book stuff. I don't know.
Gil Kane is a god, so there you go. The Atom explained. I did it. Well, you know what? I don't remember that one. The origin issue. Damn it, I probably have it.
There's a comic book that explains stalagmites and stalactites in a comic. Steve, that is such a great thing to bring to the chat. Steve Mitchum, what a great thing to bring to the chat.
Well, back then, just like with TV and things, comic books were always written and drawn by very literate people and very educated people who had, that were educated and loves, even in a silly, crazy comic book about the atom, a character who shrinks down to microscopic size and has, plays with science, unlike Star Trek that tries to be at least closer to a realistic science. Even still, they do put scientific. They put lessons in books back then, because comic books were meant for younger readers, and they were full of lessons and things. So
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
that's back when we had people who would invent things. And now
Yes.
we have an entire generation of people who just want to innovate things. Could you imagine if Mozart didn't invent things, if he just innovated things? Imagine if Mozart sampled 79 other artists and had 85 producers on his albums. It's just it's
Exactly.
just so bad. Like as our popular culture artifacts, our signs, symbols, and artifacts from our popular culture, as they begin to denigrate through innovation, we see the spoiling of the impetus for creation, for people to actually create and invent things, and it's really, really sad.
Absolutely. I think that comic was probably written by either Gardner Fox or John Broome. Either one, both were smart chaps. Steve mentioned, so there you go. And I think so anyway. That's absolutely, again, just even TV. Even the most frivolous of TV back then, people were more. I mean, it was just they I don't know, they came from better backgrounds. They knew more. They were, even if you wrote, I don't care if you wrote for Gilligan's Island. Even some of those people were smart people that were educated and understood things.
Gilligan's Island's great writing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Eric K says at 35 minutes past the hour, that was auto spell. Yeah, I'm actually getting quite sick and tired of the autocomplete, the auto replace, and then also the fact that it is autoing which version of English you have. Oh my goodness, Eric, like you have to fight with it to make it behave itself. It's just crazy.
Yep. Gardner Fox. Yep. Well, I love that man. Man did a lot of great stuff. And he wrote a lot of books too. Claude's got a bunch of those books. I mean, people think he only wrote comics, and I'm gonna get started on that. But this episode, again, it's kind of nice to see Magil, as you like to call her. I also said Majel, but I'm going to go with you because you know that kind of stuff more than I do. So Magil, the lovely lady who, again, I talked to on the phone once, and I met her once. She's nice. To get a little episode there, I thought that's kind of nice. Again, Sherry Jackson, love her. Some of the stuff with Kirk, again, there's always a lot of good Kirk scenes, and the story just really didn't grab me that much, I must admit. Although it was clever concepts and things like that. They weren't really, I don't know, I don't think they were all that clear with some of the things that went on when Rock is explaining the history of the old ones.
Yeah. And it's nice illusion, right? Because it's calling to mind H.P. Lovecraft. So there, once again, you've got this illusion. You're engaging the audience in cerebral pursuits. There is a literary quality, and this is what makes this beautiful IP so engaging, and it's what's helped it stand the test of time. So it's absolutely wonderful. I did study Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus, in university, though, and I wouldn't say this is exactly like the modern Prometheus. I wouldn't. I don't agree with Block and Arrowman that it's like Frankenstein and that it's reminiscent of Frankenstein. I think it has some elements that are like Frankenstein, but I wouldn't say it's like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, because that's, of course, something completely different, right? But
yes.
Yeah.
I wonder why they let Block come back and do another one, which was one episode I really like a lot better than this, Wolf in the Fold, for the second season. But I guess
we talking about the same person? Because we have the Bloch guy, which is like Bloch.
That's how it's spelled. I always said Block because I've heard it pronounced Block before.
And then we've got the other guy, the Block guy. What is his name? J.D. Block? Is it John J.D. Block?
No,
also a writer?
No, you're saying Bloch, but people have always pronounced it to me as Block.
Yeah, I understand, because in the United States it's Colbert or Colbert. You guys say Colbert and stuff.
We say Colbert, but yeah. But I hear you.
Yeah, and then it's Bernard or Bernard, And in
Honored, yeah.
Canada, where we have 1 foot in England or the UK and 1 foot in the United States. So we just try and say everything from the original place where the person's language comes from. See, that's how Canadians deal with it. We just, if you're from Poland, we try and say it the Polish way. If you're from South Africa, we try and say it with the South African accent. We just really try. I think it's because, of course, we're bilingual up here, right? Our official languages are French and English. So,
Well, yeah, Robert Bloch wrote Psycho, and he was a very established writer in Hollywood and in books and stuff. But again, I've always said it Bloch because I've heard it pronounced Bloch, but it is spelled Bloch there, so I should probably say it that way then. That's fine.
and sometimes the ch is the sh, and it depends. We would need to look up the name origin and find out where that fine fellow is from. But yeah, I read in several places that Gene was rewriting it while they were filming it, and it's apparently well known because it was happening on set.
Yeah.
So that's another one of those times where Gene doesn't get credit for doing something when he's just ready, willing, and able to do it on the spot. He was definitely no faker. He could get it done.
Well, the guy worked on Star Trek and he worked with Hitchcock, so he had some creds, that's for sure. So, yeah.
Raquel, as Ray Palmer told his students, both ceiling and stalactite have the letter C in them. I love you, Steve.
There you go. Ray Palmer is, of course, the second version of the Atom. I love him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will remember that, Steve. And I think that it's so cool that that there would be like a cave, like teaching people about splunking and cave science that in a comic. Steve Mitchum, it was brilliant that you brought that up. And yeah, I love the little C trick. That's great.
Dr. Ray Palmer is one of the smartest dudes in the DC universe. So yeah, great there.
Oh, Steve Mitchum, what a beautiful comment to make. You just made every Canadian happy. That's exactly what happened, actually. Canada, the only country in the world to gain its independence by asking politely. That's basically what happened.
So wow, that's pretty good. I mean, I listened to them there. So what else do we have on this episode? Because we were spoiled with 3 great ones.
I just went through my notes and sort of rattled them off really fast, but that's about it for me. I do really, really, really love that Brown and Andrea, but she doesn't say Andrea, she says Andrea. So Brown and Andrea use the old style laser pistols from the pilots and from the Man Trap. I love seeing them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's terrific to see that. And I love that little bit of trivia that because I'm always looking for details because I'm a reader. I prefer books to watching television. I prefer books to films, and I just love that black and white phaser. We're not going to be seeing that anymore. Right now, it's going to be replaced by a way more detailed blue and gray with the black. So I love that kind of stuff, and of course, because that's what's going to happen if you're stuck in a trivia night at the pub. Hey, remember going to the pub? Or if you're playing like the proper Star Trek trivia, you need to know this stuff because it will come up.
Absolutely, I love that first phaser. Nothing. I like the other ones, but yeah, that phaser from Man Trap. Man, it's the best. God, I just love that thing for some reason.
It's gorgeous. Like, tell me that isn't a gorgeous weapon dreamed up. I just think it's just the coolest.
That's why I wish they hadn't got rid of the rifle from Where It Almost Gone Before, because I like that one too.
And the original communicator. You know that there's a guy out there that I'm friends with on Twitter. I forget his handle. What is his handle? There's a guy out there who's actually pouring the original communicator through mold. So we're talking like original gangster Cage.
Oh, nice.
And
wow,
so, yeah, if like that is the ultimate for me. Those are the 2 things I don't have. I would love to have a replica of the Cage weapon, and then I would love to have a replica of the Cage communicator. That would just be the ultimate for me, that I can die a peaceful existence. I can die a happy woman, and I'll just have my tricorder.
Nice.
Buried in
Nice.
my uniform.
I love the way your country is spelled too. C-E-N-E-D.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Eh? Eh.
Well, Canadians get my name right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a beautiful name, Mark.
Yes, indeed, Marcus. Monica with a C. Well, let's see here. This episode, basically, to sum up. I mean, if we're doing, we're not really rating stuff that much, but what the hell? If this were like a 1 through 10 rating, I would probably give this one like about a 6 or so. It wouldn't be one of my top ones, but I wouldn't put it below the, below the bad line or anything.
Well, I'm a chronic. I'm addicted. This is my preferred drug of choice. My drug of choice in life is Star Trek. And especially TOS. So for me, the penis and lurch, it scores a slightly higher, but not much higher. And not much firmer. So it can't be higher or firmer, if you get my meaning. So I'm gonna go with like a 7.5, maybe an 8. Just because I also really like the thing in retrospect, this gets rid of the weirdo new Trek Star Trek vandalism crap when everybody else was sort of groping around in an ugly way looking to figure out what was going on. Were there androids? Was it possible to make more androids? Everyone completely forgot about this episode, and I was screaming about this episode on Twitter. We actually even have the quote in this episode: "This is how you make an android." So it's just so funny. Is it possible in the Star Trek universe to still make an android? Yeah, it is. Echo 3. The machine's
absolutely.
there. Make an android. You're good. You're good to go without a word to say. There's no android shortage. Nobody stopped making androids. There is a machine. We can do it. Watch the show that you say that you pretend that you watch. Just watch the show.
They would never do that.
Stop talking about it on social media and watch the show.
They would never do that. They did one question left unanswered by this episode. Do in fact androids dream of electric sheep? We may never know. They left that to Philip K. Dick, I guess. Let's see. Everyone still stands far enough above the direct they pass off as it's not. Yeah, they STD and P Hard and Lower Drex, all that crap. None of that's real Star Trek. No, nor are the crap bag Abrams movies.
That is not Star Trek.
No.
That is not Star Trek. Nothing after 2005 is Star Trek.
That's right.
Anyone who says it is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yep, in name only. It doesn't count. What's it? One of my dear friend Eris. I know you're not listening now, but just in case you ever hear this, I'm gonna get you because she was doing her show today. She's like, well, this was the second. She did this. She and her old buddy, my buddy with Project Storytime. She does her streams on Saturdays. Link to her lovely channels below. And she's my buddy. She goes on Loki with me and stuff. But about a couple months back, and then today, she found this video by this person who's dressed up in a Jar Jar Abrams red. This young lady's dressed up, in the red outfit that Uhura wears in the Jar Jar Abrams garbage movies. Mm-hmm. And her whole video, she did a relatively short video called "Is the Star Trek 2009 movie Star Trek?" Well, we know I know the answer to that, and it's not a super long video, but it's long enough. It's so long that the first time she did this a couple months back, Eris, that she did it where they answer her every point. You're like, what was it, EFAP or something? They'll show a video and they'll stop it every 2 seconds to comment on every single word, syllable spoken in the video. It took her 4 hours to do it last time, and she was only halfway through it. So they did part 2 today. And I told her after she did that, because I popped in the chat the first time she did it, and I'm putting all kind of smart aleck remarks because I hate, there's nothing, very few things in this universe I hate more than the Jar Jar Abrams filth. So, and she knows it. And she did it, and I told her, don't do the video like that again. That's bad for my blood pressure if you're not going to have me on there to yell and scream about it. And anyway, she's doing it again today. the second half of it. It took her that long to go ahead and finally do the second half, and it took her over 4 hours. That's how because she stops it every 5 seconds. Now her point is, she agrees. Even though she's very young, in the first Trek, well, it's not real Trek. First thing she ever saw called Star Trek was that horrible movie. Very young though. She likes real Trek now and all that kind of stuff. So she has kind of weird soft spot in the movie, and I tease her about it a lot. But I love her to death, But they're tearing apart what this person is saying, and they are trashing her. Again, not being mean to her. It just seems like you may have made a nice enough person, but she's trying to make this case that the Jar Jar Abrams filth is Star Trek, those movies.
It is not.
And it is not. And you don't want to be mean to a person because she's probably not. It probably seems like a nice enough young woman. She's younger than Eris, actually. But wow, she's really desperate to make this point, to make people accept somehow. Hey, if you like this thing, yeah, whatever. Better that, I guess, as Harlan Ellison once said. Better that than you should be out stealing hubcaps, I guess. A quote from him. But Jesus Christ, you're gonna make a whole video trying to defend this crap all these years later. And I don't know. I'm just like, and so I'm in the chat today, making all these cracks. I'm like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you even bothering entertaining this? And then, of course, but I know what I really meant. I'm like, God, I want to talk to this person and just try to make them understand it's not Star Trek. Because you know what? Most people who defend that stupid movie even admit, well, I know what you're saying. It's not Star Trek, but I'm still going to like it. If it's not Star Trek, why do you like it? Why do you like it? If you admit it's not Trek, why do you like it?
Well, it stopped being Star Trek the minute that it stopped being about the vision of Gene Roddenberry. And one of the first things they always say is, the vision of Gene Roddenberry, what's that? He didn't even do any of the writing. It was a whole bunch of other people. First of all, anyone who's a real Trekkie knows that is patently false. He wrote all the way up to Datalore. And he was rewriting the people who were giving him scripts and writing with him. So very much belongs to him. And anyone who worked with him continually called him a genius and a visionary and a guide and just a spontaneous genius. And that's because he's an artist. And I think that people are enamored with Star Trek because of this artist, because of this author, this writer. And that's what the magic is coming from. The thing is that I think that a lot of people believe in this idea of being loyal to their corporation. And I'm not loyal to corporations. I'm not loyal to IP. What I'm loyal to are artists and talented writers and people who try and change the world for the better. So I'm not into corporate Star Trek. It's not Star Trek because it's a corporate narrative. It's a team of corporate writers trying to recast an IP for monetary gain. There's nothing happening here where somebody has some wonderful idealistic notion of the world. There's no writer that is struggling. There's no police officer or military guy who decides to sit down and start writing television series, and he comes up with this marvelous way to give us hope for this idealistic future. That person doesn't exist in corporate Star Trek, I should say. It's a corporate narrative. And if you like the corporate narrative, I will not begrudge you the corporate narrative, but you just need to know that that's what your loyalty is from. That's what you're fighting for every day on social media. You're actually fighting for a corporate narrative, a corporation that took somebody's material after they died and tried to make it into a money-making machine because they knew that it worked before. It's highly palatable stuff. They knew that they had a ready fan base. They knew that this was something that was highly palatable that the public would buy. And the minute that the public discovered that it was corporate narrative and that the artist's vision was gone, that police officer, that military guy, that guy who wrote all those Westerns, the minute they knew there was no longer an author, a writer, a passionate idealist, a passionate humanitarian who was a humanist and somebody who wanted a better tomorrow, the minute that they knew that he was no longer there and he wasn't present in the story, that voice was dead, they lost interest in this corporate IP. So if you like the corporate IP and you like corporations, good for you. I like storytellers, authors, and people that have a vision, real people, not bots on social media protecting a corporate investment.
Oh my goodness, so well said. So absolutely beautifully said. I love it. It's just I have no respect for that garbage. And then, let me be clear, I don't disrespect human beings who are nice enough for liking it. I don't mean it towards if you like that stuff. I just don't get you if you like it. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
especially if you're a Trek fan,
Yeah.
like our good buddy Mark with a C. I'm sorry. Sorry to get you guys confused. You look exactly. No, you don't. I still loved seeing Spock in the 2009. Gross. Ugh. Despite the story, there was a story. What did that happen? No, are you sure about that? I just think it's an alternate universe that didn't happen. I wish it didn't happen. I mean, in a sense, literally, I wish we could, wish it out of existence. Can't actually, I seeing him and it made my skin crawl. I love Nimoy, but seeing you said you still love seeing Spock. I guess I was presuming you're meaning Nimoy because
Yeah.
there were two people called Spock in there. But I do. Like I said, that's up to you, Martin, with the C. I hate that movie more than I hate the other two.
I love Mark with a C. I think that he is a very intelligent, very
Absolutely.
kind, very well-mannered, knowledgeable fan. And I have oodles and oodles and poodles of respect for the man behind the
Oh yeah, he knows what messing
the
with.
handle Mark with a C.
Yeah.
Just love you, Mark. But yeah, I can't do the corporate Star Trek. Just the heart has been ripped out of Star Trek. There's no more passion. There's no idealistic voice. There's no vision for a future. It's just corporate narrative, corporate marketing, and it's so I can't do it. But I understand that some people like that one piece of it, even if they don't like Star Trek, just because of Leonard Nimoy being in it, and it tickles the part of their brain that wants to engage with nostalgia. But I just don't want to get manipulated by the corporation, and they're just manipulating people so much now. But Mark with the C, all that said, I'm even starting to sour on TNG. Ever since it was digitally possible or physically possible, I've been rewatching Star Trek every single year since it was possible. And it's about 667 plus hours to watch the whole thing. And I didn't do that last year because I saw part of the disco crap in 2017. I saw the part of the 2009 movie and shut it off. And then I saw P Hard. And then I was just like, this is so gross. It's like watching people fling shit. Please excuse my language.
That's okay.
It's like watching people fling crap on the memory of Gene Roddenberry. And so like I couldn't watch it last year. I couldn't watch it. And so if I wouldn't be doing this show with Clobberin, I don't know. Like I think I might skip over TNG.
If you want to skip it, we can, by the way.
No, let's do it. But it's just you know that a corporation has really crapped the bed when like hardcore fans are souring on established canon.
Yep. Absolutely. Mark with the C says, same thing will probably happen with the new Amazon Lord of the Rings. I feel for my brothers who are big fans of those books and those movies. I like the movies and I've liked the books. Okay. I'm not a super fan or anything, but I know what it feels like. That's going to be destroyed. That's totally going to be destroyed.
I read The Hobbit when I was like a little kid, like a little tiny kid. You know what I'm also scared about is Dune. Like, and I read the real Dune too, not the abridged. I know many people read the abridged Dune and it's only like a 400-page book or whatever, but I actually read the real Dune. It's like, 1,100 or 1,200 pages long. I love Dune. Dune isn't a book. It's a place you go. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's not a book. they're not, those aren't books, they're a place you go. So yeah, I'm so horrified. I'm scared. I'm so scared.
Absolutely. I feel terrible for because I've had pretty much everything I love destroyed in the same way. Anytime it happens to someone else, it doesn't matter if I'm a big fan of that IP or not. I can feel it right there with them, and I do so much. Rod Thunderheart, I agree. Clobberin times. I can't get past the story of the 100 miles of bullshit tossed at the screen so fast you can't breathe. It's the Fast and Furious with spaceships. It's a piece of filthy crap. I hate dumbing down Star Trek. Look, you know what? And here's the thing about that. I wouldn't. It's that double-edged sword, similar to what it's a lot like what my buddy Doomcock has. It all hail Doomcock, because
Victor
without,
Van Doomcock,
we love
hail,
Doomcock.
sweetheart, love you. Shout out to you, baby.
Because uh, without that piece of filth '09 movie, which before there was that, there were some podcasts around. There weren't that many. You know, I really wanted to sound off about it. I was always a big talk radio junkie, so I wanted to do something like that. I knew I wasn't going to get any kind of radio show, but I just wanted to talk about this sort of thing. So that in the Watchmen movie really aggravated me. I was a big Watchmen fan, of course, still am. So I kept bugging my son. You got to help me learn how to do a podcast. You got to help me learn. And he's finally got tired of listening to it. And he just says, "Here, leave me alone." He sent me this thing, Podcast for Dummies or whatever. I said, well, thanks a lot. But then it showed me how to go to Blog Talk Radio, which was different from a podcast in a sense. You go live for a couple hours and it would archive you. Anyway, I was there 11 years, but it was because of that piece of filth Jar Abrams movie. So in the same way, our buddy Doomcock just wanted to make videos, critiquing and making his displeasure known for the filthy STD show. And that, of course, I'm not in his league. I'm just saying that's what skyrocketed him to notoriety. He didn't expect that. He just wanted to make videos about that stuff.
Yeah.
So he didn't expect it. And so similar story, similar origins, but he is, of course, the future ruler of Earth. I am nothing but a humble, actually, I'm his minister of flight rings, though. So I do work for him in a sense. But I love you, Doomcocker, if you out there hearing that.
Yeah. I just, the reason why I love Doomcock is at first I was like, why is his name like that? And I didn't know what to make of him. I thought, oh my goodness, why does he have a name like that? And then I watched one of his videos and I was like, wow, okay, so and I said this publicly. I just said to everyone, if I were to play Star Trek trivia, he's the person who I would choose to be my partner, because I've never met anybody in my life who is as passionate about TOS as I am. And so I just became an instant fan and friend of his because and an advocate for the things he says because of his views on TOS. Just absolutely, it just blew me away because I've never met a real human who actually likes TOS as much as I do. Most people would like me to just stop talking after about 2 seconds because they're like, that's way too much information. I don't care. You're down the rabbit hole, lady. Let it go. And, so, but I do love him. And that's why I go to Friday Night Frolics. He has an Irish pub night. And we all get together, and it is exactly like being in an Irish pub. He just tells jokes. He does some singing. It's a bit like karaoke or jammy-oke, but there's no music, of course, because of copyright. Yeah. And we just all have a good time together. And I really enjoy his company and hysterical human being.
He has been a great buddy to me and a great friend to so many people, and he's extraordinarily talented. Any of you have not been to Friday Night Frolics, I love FNT too. Friday Night Tights that comes on before it. There goes guys are great, and then after that you get Doomcock. All night great stuff. If you haven't been to Doomcock's channel, you got to go see it, and you got to go to his streams. He's just a great
Chris
dude.
is leaving.
Chris all right, let's see. Globby, all right, buddy. Chris Persia, I'm always so honored to have you here, my friend. So thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, Chris. And I hope you'll be back here next Saturday. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you had fun. I hope we entertained you. And thanks so much for coming, friend.
Absolutely appreciate that, man. By the way, my buddy Ace Castern, he's been, like I said, I think he told me the other day he's been reading the Dune. He's now starting to read the Dune books. So
Yep.
yes, so those again. Let's hope they don't screw that up for you. But like I said, a funny thing about that, Raquel, is before it happened to the big three, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It was happening to me with comics for many years. So I got to admit I was used to it, but still I didn't think it was going to happen to all three of them. And then when it happened to Star Trek, bad enough they canceled Enterprise, but when like the year or two leading up to the filthy Abrams trash, I was like, I was kind of not prepared. But I got after I went through all of that crap, I'm like, okay. And I just didn't think it was going to happen to all three of those things. I didn't think it would happen to Star Wars.
This is what I mean. And I don't want to turn this into a graduate seminar, but definitely, well, I'm not teaching right now because of COVID, and there just aren't the people who don't want to study in closed quarters, and also you can't. Many universities and colleges are shuttered, but this is definitely an issue that I would be discussing today. And I talked about it a lot in graduate school. This emerging addiction towards nostalgia. So this nostalgia epidemic, but it's mixed with this idea that I'm trying to push forward, that I'm trying to get people to consider, to have a think on, and that is this idea of previously. We would have all of these wonderful inventors making all of these wonderful inventions. Look at the pad. We had the pad appear on Star Trek, and then suddenly there's an iPad.
Yes.
And we look at Cooper, who's actually in my master's thesis, saying when he saw the communicator, Kirk holding the communicator, he felt like he could put the guts in it and go and make a cell phone. So we have these people who are inventors. These are highly creative people making new things. Look at Nikola Tesla. I mean, look at all of these people. These people invented things. These are inventors. These are creators. And even storytellers. These are creators. They're telling new stories in incredible and wonderful ways. And then we have this generation, which seems intent upon regurgitating it as though it's cud. And there are several animals that have multiple stomachs, and they chew grass. And when they get bored, they throw the grass up into their mouth and they chew it again. And this is how they break it down. Well, that's what's happening in our in entertainment today. That's what's happening in our films. This is what's happening in our television, which is now streaming. You have this huge influx of people who are just constantly rebooting, regurgitating, and innovating things because corporations don't want to take a risk on authors, writers, and artists, creators. They want proven, launchable product that already has a ready, willing, and able audience. And that's not the way that writing, entertainment, film, and television should work. They're going to have to take some risks and start creating some beautiful new things for creators, creation, invention. Stop with all of the rebooting, the regurgitating, the innovation. We've had quite enough of it.
Well said as always.
I wish that I could motivate my students to get that dialogue going, and I think maybe that's also why I've been pretty keen to get involved with the streaming, is to talk about the way that this phenomenon that is being created by these corporations, how it's starting to affect society. People are no longer watching the corporate reboots, but they're talking about it online. And since that sells advertising online, then that keeps the corporations selling these products. And so in the end, anybody who actually reads things and actually watches things, they have no satisfaction. They have nothing to watch because it's all about transmedia narratives. It's all about getting eyeballs on it digitally so that it has different ways of accumulating money. It seems very wrong to me, and it seems morally reprehensible to me. And I think also it's also fruitless. People are sick of it now. No more innovation, no more regurgitation, no more rebooting, creating authors. Let's have some authors and creators come forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's before um wokeness was the big concern with Hollywood. I've been bitching about them for years for the remake and the reboot mentality.
Hmm.
It is again, and this is obviously a different field of endeavor that you're speaking of, but in with art, with entertainment art, things like that, it's distressed me for years how anyone who calls himself an artist wants to remake someone else's work.
Hmm. and
Hollywood's
and
been doing that.
and not even just an artist, because I think I would even feel okay with that. But it's this is a corporation. It's a marketing team that gets together and says, how can we make this happen digitally? How can we get as much marketing and advertising and eyeballs on this as possible? Now what happens with these franchises is they're saying, okay, we have this ready, willing, and able audience. We have the mythos, we have the mystique, we have interest. Now how can we create merchandise? How can we create digital engagement? Because that's going to give us way more money than if we sell this to a stream, or if people go and see it in the theater. Let's build a mega franchise. And I think that that's a huge mistake, because if Mozart were alive today, no one would have listened to a single thing he wrote. And that's really scary, because think of how many artists and creators we have out there, inventors we have out there, who we're silencing because corporations are deciding for us that we should watch the same stuff over and over again, because it's the best way for them to invest their money. It's the safest way they think they can invest their money. I think it's quite sad, and it's taking away our opportunity to come together through popular culture, through signs, symbols, artifacts in popular culture, and have that communication as a community and as a society. They're robbing us of that opportunity, and it's sad.
Indeed, what Smart Steve says. Amen. And he forgot to say a woman though. Raquel, they need to create, not regurgitate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Absolutely.
I say that probably 3 or 4 times a day.
Mark with a C was interesting. He said his dad was an inventor and worked on the space program and that's who he got his love of science from. And wow, he redesigned the shutter on the lunar orbiter, which mapped the moon for the Apollo landing. I still have his framed photo of Earthrise, the famous picture it took of the Earth rising from behind them. That is
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
and what are we going to do when we don't have people like that anymore? When people don't aspire anymore, to do those types of things anymore, to reach
Wow.
beyond what we've done
Yeah.
before. And what a beautiful thing to share, Mark. Thank you.
That is, and you're right. It is absolutely terrifying. We're not teaching those things and not inspiring those things either. You know.
Yeah, and I think if you really want to shake society up, you start bringing in those voices. You don't have to retcon anything. You don't have to, sort of tell people, this stranglehold didacticism, this moralizing, this stranglehold, this is what you must do, this is what you must think, and highly partisan behaviors. It's not working, and just the whole thing, this all goes back to this corporate narrative, this corporate marketing, and people have to demand more. Stop watching this crap. People are like, oh, how can you make comments unless you watch it? No, I've watched a couple of episodes of it, and I know exactly what it's doing. I watched it for myself. I saw, but I don't have to buy something and watch it to prove that it's not what I want to watch. My power is in my vote, and I vote to stop going to reboots, to stop watching innovation. I want to only watch invention. I want to only watch creation from human beings, authors and writers, not corporate marketing teams. Suck it. Sorry to be crass,
I love
but
it.
corporations can suck it.
Yes.
We're tired of it. And until we stop buying this crap and watching this crap, they're going to keep serving it up to us.
I don't buy anything anymore other than the old stuff. I mean, and like even when I watch something, and I don't watch much new stuff, I don't, like I said, I've got certain ways around certain things. Let's just put it like that. I don't, I can't, I don't really do a lot of business with any of these crap bag corporations anymore. And I don't want to. And I mean, I really don't want to. There's nothing they have for me.
Yeah.
It's
It's very insincere. The whole relationship is incredibly insincere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Oh, Mark
I
put
don't
up a
know.
beautiful comment at 14 minutes past the hour. Could we please honor his father by putting that up?
I would call him a mechanical Mozart. Wow. He could design and fix anything. Thanks. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, that's amazing. I've always admired people who could do that. I can't, I've never been really good at fixing things that much, or not to that any great degree. And I've always admired the people who could do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I could mess with a few things here and there, but as far as like I can't do a Scotty or a trip, or I can't. It's just amazing. That's a wonderful talent to have, a wonderful gift to have.
Yeah,
absolutely. Big respect to your pops there.
Yeah,
Mark,
definitely.
Yeah.
And I love that you're just calling him out here like that in front of everyone. What a great tribute to him. If he is still with us, I hope he knows what a marvelous son you are. And if he is no longer with us, what a great tribute and what a great son you are.
Absolutely. Mark with a C is just a great friend of this show. I always appreciate you coming over here.
Yeah, you're darn right, Mark with a C.
Absolutely,
we just love your
Dave.
company. You're a great friend and a great Star Trek fan.
Yes, indeed. This is what Star Trek at its finest does. It brings a lot of birds of a feather together. It brings a lot of people who just have a deep love for it. You talk about like wanting to play the game, the trivia game, and you can't find anybody to play the game with you. I've been pretty lucky, especially when it comes to the original series, because again, I'm old enough to remember when there was only one show called Star Trek, other than the animated series, of course, but it was still the same crew.
Yeah.
Star Trek had one meaning, and there was one crew.
And
yeah, remember that? And
I remember that. That was great.
For 21 years, it was one thing. Now, I knew a couple people here and there that were obsessed with being a Klingon and that kind of stuff, but for the most part, they loved it. And some of them liked it for some of the technical things. Oh, yeah, it's okay, And like a guy who was obsessed with all the technical manuals and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's a TV show, unlike any other. I say it all the time, broken record, but it's true. Name me one other TV show, and there are many that I adore. Name me one that inspires people to be something, that inspires people to do something other than just watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
How many is a show that changes people's lives?
Society changes society.
Yes. Name another one. I mean, Star Wars is a wonderful, huge cult following, and it does capture the imagination of a lot of people. But it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not saying there aren't people that may have, wanted to be astronauts or something because of Star Wars. I don't know, but we do know Star Trek has a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I just wanted to interject. Please excuse me. Pardon me for interrupting.
No problem.
Just wanted to point to Eric K's comment at 17 minutes past the hour. I just wanted to say how wonderful I think it is to talk about your dads like this, because celebrating fatherhood is not something that North American society is accustomed to. So
no.
I really, really love the way that this chat behaves and the way that these Star Trek fans are. Mark with a C, you are a wonderful son and just a wonderful person. And Eric K, yeah, you are another wonderful son. Isn't it great when you have a wonderful father figure in your life, a wonderful dad who loves you very much, or even if he's a steely kind of dad, and you're just looking at it with such marvel at the things that he can make and fix, and it's quite a wonderful experience, isn't it? And to celebrate it here is a great honor for Mike and myself.
Well, very well put. Mark with a C says that thank you guys, much appreciated. He is looking down with a great bird of the galaxy. Well,
Yeah.
bless him and bless you on that, my friend. That is fantastic, and we really appreciate you, buddy. And I also appreciate a great buddy who just popped in.
Yeah.
The great Mexican Iron Man. I can't do the
Hello. Good
I can't do the
evening,
way
sir.
I can't do the way Doomcut goes, or whatever. I can't do it, brother. But you know I mean it. So I love this man, Mexican Iron Man. What's up, bro? Good to see you,
I
buddy.
used to draw freehand the 1701 whenever I was in DT. Great. Good job, Mexican Iron Man. Of course, Mexican Iron Man's getting the DT.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, that's what they call it in Canada. And I just always assume
yeah,
that
the DT.
Mexicans are the same as Canadians because we have so much in common. You know that DT means detention, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. We would always quote Fast Times. My dad had a toolkit and could fix anything. Yeah, oh, absolutely. A Scotty. He is a Scotty. He is a trip. There you go. As a new father, I sure hope we start valuing fathers again. Hollywood sure doesn't do it. And another reason why I love Cobra Kai so much, they have positive fathers on that. Name me something else you've seen recently that has positive fathers.
Well, I don't watch that
Nothing.
because I'm not a geek. Like usually when I'm in this room, like it's all geeks, and there are very few nerds. So like nerds are like academic. That's about academic pursuits and literary pursuits and scholarly pursuits. So I'm a nerd. Geeks, they know everything about films and comics and pop culture, and they've got their pulse on how things are created, you know, in the film world and in the comic world and stuff like that. So you know, it's hard to bridge those two things, but Star Trek manages to do it, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. So what you're saying is our old buddy Gary at Nerdrotic is actually should be called Geekrotic.
Yes.
I'll tell him that.
Well, by the dictionary definition, yes, that is true.
I'll tell him that.
Yeah, but I don't mind as long as the person is well, you know.
Oh,
whatever.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, but Gary's a good dude. We love Gary. We love Gary right here. Nerdrotic, what a great dude. I love all those guys at the Friday Night Tights and all that stuff, Az and all those fellers. Raquel Briggs, my father used to always tell me also. What? When I was bad, which was never, okay, I believe that, Garrett. I brought you into this world. I will take you out too. Yeah. Sounds like very John Wayne of him. I will make one just like you, only smarter next time. Very John Wayne of him. I love that.
He sounds like a steely guy. But but you know, we are going to get into a great celebration of father-son relationships when we hit DS9, because it's, you know, that is very close to my heart because of the representation that we see in that series, and it's just outstanding. So when we get to that, it's going to definitely we're going to celebrate dads, and we're also going to celebrate sons. So
the Cisco relationship, the father-son Cisco relationship is beautiful. It's really, really one of the most lovely things in Star Trek. I love it. I love Avery Brooks, and I think the young gentleman who plays this, what's his the kid's name, who plays his son Jake? Yes, Rock Lofton. That's right. Is excellent. And that's the Cisco's are great. I really love it. Cisco. I mean, look, I'm a Kirk guy all the way, but Cisco's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Or as they would say on Cobra Kai, it's a badass.
Yeah.
He's badass. He is a badass. But so well, I tell you what, I think we've done it again. I think we've done. I don't know. The chat will have to decide whether we did a good job or not. But I think we did.
Yeah, let them decide. It's hard for us to fit it all in. You know, whenever we're done the show, Mike and I always go backstage and we say, well, there's so much other stuff we could have talked about. But you know, the thing is that we also really care about you guys. So the thing is once we get going in a conversation about one thing or another, it takes a little bit longer. So instead of just rattling off facts, we try to present a sort of overview of the episode. Then we sort of, Mike and I do some infill, and then we also want to make sure that we pay attention to you, what you have to say, things that you remember or want to impart on the broadcast. So go easy on us. We try really hard, but
Oh yeah, we try.
we always wish we could do more.
No, absolutely. Did I hit something?
No,
I thought I hit a button wrong. Sorry. No, absolutely. And again, I just always have the best of times doing this, Raquel. I mean, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you. This is just so much fun for me. We are, whether it's geeks, nerds, or whatever, birds of a feather. When it comes to loving to talk about Star Trek and never getting enough of talking about Star Trek, whatever else we may or may not have in common, I know we have that in common.
Yes, exactly. And that's what brings us together, right? And thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm having a blast, and I think it's just marvelous that so many people are willing to welcome our voices into their home and start that dialogue and be in that dialogue with us. It is it's such a great honor, and I think you're all wonderful.
Well, I tell you what, thank you so much for that. I want to say just say how much I love all you friends who are here with us in the chat. My great old friend, Ace Cast Iron is here. Thank you so much, buddy.
Ace, seriously, dude, you were outstanding tonight.
Yes,
your comments and just the way you interacted with everyone else in the chat. You're a heck of a nice person, and we loved having you tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you'll come again.
Appreciate you being here, my brother. Be safe out there. We want to say I appreciate the great Steve Mitchum, also another good buddy of mine. Just Joe was here earlier. Just Joe 47 Jobber was here. Our buddy Rod Thunderheart. Rod, thanks.
Yes, Rod.
Much. Our good old buddy Mark with a C.
Yes, Mark.
Thanks, man. I do appreciate you sharing what you did. It's just so much fun, man, and having you here. I always appreciate you. Smart Steve 68.
Yes. Thank you so much. You were terrific tonight, Smart Steve.
Absolutely. The great Chris Persia who had to run, but we appreciate you if you're still hearing us out there, my brother. Always an honor to have you here. And another master of the great wrenches, our good buddy Eric K. Eric.
Yes. Love you, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, you are the best, brother. Let's see who else was here. Let's see if I can remember some of them. The great Mexican Iron Man dropped in.
Yes.
Mike, buddy, ex-Mexican Iron Man, if you're still hearing me, brother, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I believe Parrot Head was here earlier.
Parrot Head was here, but also that?
Scuba Pete was here.
Yeah, Scuba Pete was here. So I've got to give a shout out to Scuba Pete and Katie Carr.
The wonderful, lovely Katie Carr was here earlier.
Did we say D. Oberg? We got Doug, right?
My good buddy D. Oberg was here as well. Some of them might still be. I don't know. And anyone who lurked, we appreciate you as well. I lurk sometimes myself. You're a little lurking every now and then. We appreciate you if you are.
Oh, yes, and the Felicianos. Hail to the Felicianos. Love you guys.
Big time. Felicianos, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Smart Steve. That was really good. I like how you just slid that in there for us. You're the best.
Appreciate that, Smart Steve. We probably, if we forgot anyone, I'm so sorry. It just happens. Because we've been on for a good while, and somebody might have been here earlier or at the outset. And I'm a dumbass that doesn't write things down. I should have.
You are not a dumb butt. You are wonderful. I just love you. I
am a dumbass. I can prove. I have proof on file. Anytime anyone doubts me, I got it in my computer and in my phone or somewhere. I can say, I'm a dumbass around here. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing.
So funny. Oh, Eric K., what a beautiful comment. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much. I enjoy your company immensely. You are such a smart and funny and wonderful person. Thank you for helping us to run this show.
You know what he really meant, right? He really meant, you were really cool to listen to, Eric K. Eric K. meant to Raquel, but What do you? That jackass Mike always ruins it by talking and stuff. Meaning me.
No.
I know what you meant, Eric. You meant Clobby always messes it up, brother.
No.
But I appreciate you guys. Yeah, and again tonight I didn't. Not once did I revert into Johnny Carson and say, "What in the? That is really one. I did not know that. I didn't at all talk like this and say, oh, that old magnificent one. No Ed either. I don't know. And not once did I do how I would go sell for no reason whatsoever, folks. I just had to. I know that annoys people, so I have to do it. It's bad. I'm sorry. It annoys me. That's not actually. Again, thank you, everyone. We will be here. Let's see, Monday night. I'm hoping Loki might join me. I'm gonna try. I think we're gonna, and maybe Paulie. I don't know. We'll get some folks in here. WandaVision. I will review it, and my head is going to explode because Robert Meyer Burnett did tweet that. He's right. It's a weird divide. People are hating the hell out of it, or really loving it, and there's not a big in between except for me. And the thing is, it's only 2 episodes, so but we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna review WandaVision, if you could call it a review, and we'll spoiler it, of course, if you haven't seen it yet, whatever. But yeah, then Wednesday night, Open Geek Foolishness, and back here next. We're back here next for Saturday night, right? We're on for 4 more episodes.
Oh yes.
I didn't check the proud order to know exactly which ones they are.
Okay, well, I can give them to you if you would like.
Oh, sure. Lay it on me.
Next week, we are going to be covering The Dagger of the Mind.
Oh, yeah. Well, James Gregory in an episode. You got any Ovaltine Barn? Oh, sorry. Barney. He was on Barney Miller. Sorry.
And Miri.
Okay.
And The Conscience of the King.
Whoa. And we get to see Riley again.
We get to see Riley again.
Yeah.
And Galileo 7.
Love it. I love that one for sure.
Yeah. It's
Rod,
going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and hopefully we can bring some more trivia and some production background and just some discussion, so we have something to celebrate. Yeah,
well,
Rod Thunderheart, I don't care, WandaVision. That's exactly how I feel.
Why doesn't Rod care?
Don't care.
The question is, everyone, why doesn't Rod care? Next week on Clobberin Time, an in-depth analysis of why. Just why. Why does Rod Thunderheart not care? There must be a reason why he does not give a good goddamn about WandaVision. We are going to find out. Much like Geraldo opened those vaults and found nothing. I don't even. Sorry.
Mark with the C is asking if we're going to broadcast in black and white on Monday.
Yes. No.
Are you?
I wouldn't know how. Yeah, maybe I will try that because yes, both episodes are in black and white mostly.
That's a super cool idea.
We will, and we'll and the whole time we'll talk like we're on the Dick Van Dyke Show, like they did. Cheapers, golly gee willikers.
Monday is going to be a very busy day. Nerdrotic's 7th anniversary show and WandaVision here. Yeah, Eric, you're going to be busy. Are you wrenching both shows?
Oh, I didn't. Well, maybe mine will be on later than him. I think. I don't know. Damn it! I'd rather watch his show than me do a damn show. To be honest with you, but
no, don't be silly. I think everybody wants to watch both. And if you're looking at the communications papers and you're looking at comms and you're looking at media right now, people are. They're unplugging their cable and they're not watching anything but streams. Increasingly, people are drawn to streams. So, yeah, I think there's more than enough room for everyone. And your voice is important too, Mike.
I'm not even kidding. I love Gary's stream. I'd rather watch him than me do a damn stream. But I'm trying to stick to a night, because I was going all over the place too much, jumping. So I want, we got a fixed spot here. Yeah. I want to have a fixed time, fixed space and time, as they said in Doctor Who, a fixed point in time. So I want to have a regular night. So Monday and Wednesday, I got to stick to it, but I'll probably, I would, don't worry, folks. I would watch Gary before me. So don't worry. But anyway, we're going to have, I love Gary, but I appreciate that. Eric, thanks a lot, man, for just ruining Thanks a lot, Eric K. You pick on me too much, dude.
Yeah. Oh, Steve Mitchum. People are drawn to streams. Don't cross them.
Don't cross the stream.
streams.
Exactly.
He's on there.
Oh, absolutely. There. Excellent. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great stuff. All right, everyone. Well, I tell you what, we're going to let you go because it's been quite a night. Raquel won the game by far. She scored a knockout on points. Yes, down goes Frazier. I don't know. Look, I love Howard Cosell. Say, sue me.
I love you all. I will see you all next Saturday. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for having me. You guys